And the last three, I would say, yeah, the last three people that we were onboarding and we've attracted personally have been actually from the operations side of the business, helping them out with some marketing stuff, some light transaction management stuff, even through some of our inside sales agents, our ISAs, on a project out in Oregon as a relocation to California and stuff like that was happening, and a bunch of other fires for this individual. And I think attraction looks a little different moving into this year through the support that some people probably didn't need during the shift that now they do need. People maybe didn't need any of your qualified appointments or your qualified leads or any of that stuff as their repeat and referral business was doing good. Or maybe one lead source that they had pumping oil and was predictable and doing well. Maybe that lead source had dried up. For example, I seen somebody that was generating 50 leads a month and they were decent leads and they're selling a couple houses a month in an upper price range, just evaporated overnight, disappeared. And so hopefully you're putting in multiple pillars of lead generation inside of your business and feeding that top of the funnel from at least 7 to 10 different, we'll just say niches. Hopefully you have them really dialed in and figured out with that whole core process, all the way scaling that valid conversation to appointment ratio before you add in the next pillar. But I got some guests with me too here today. I have Michelle Wilson. What's up, Michelle?
What's up?
Welcome to the call. Having a full building an empire call, a 2-hour special might seem like a long time, but you and I was even going through the content and you're like, man, it's like, there's a lot here. So we could essentially be hitting this a couple of times back to back, but we're going to attempt to get out much of the process, tweaks that we've had to make along the way, some of the limiting beliefs that were holding us back. I definitely made a lot of mistakes in the beginning and was looking at it all wrong, the whole system in general, and quantifying it to home sales and some other things like that. And when Gerbic was going live, I just begged him not to make the same mistakes I made. And really how we're getting a boost from the build event and One Big Fire. We're just coming off of the One Big Fire. Our masterminds are every 90 days. Michelle, you were in Cabo. You got to speak. Fabulous, as always. And really top agent experts had a lot of highlighted people from the Willems group there showcasing their expansion stuff and their activities. And shout out to even Michael up in Toronto. I love his tenacity. I love seeing young people applying themselves, stretching, learning, thinking, creating, and competitive at the highest level. So thank you to every single person that is helping us expand. Before we get this call kicked off, you might want to go find, there's a Drive link that I put inside of the chat. Maybe you can copy and paste that again, Michelle. But there's tons of different documents in there, from tracking sheets to scripts to there's transcripts in there from when I was at Select and we were driving people to, we will just say, a business briefing or a marketing briefing on one of the things that we specializes in, blah, 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 blah. So if I can honestly show you how to, and then the net experience that they're going to take. And I was finding success that I was the one delivering that presentation as well. And there's 3 or 4 good calls in there that I recently found, I converted. And if you're not using AI tied back into some of your tech and what you're doing with your everyday stuff, you're crazy, because it is helping me. For an example, we have Reed right now on this call, and Michelle was asking me about it right before we went live. And so for an example, it tracks the engagement of the call, the sentiment value, the different emotions, and the percentages and the ebb and flow of the conversation. How many questions was asked? It breaks out all of the questions that were asked. It gives you a summary. It gives you the full transcript. It gives you the video. It gives you highlights. Let's just say, I'm sure Michelle is going to go on a little tear or a tangent. She's going to drop a lot of value at some point, right? It's going to edit that out and then deliver like a bunch of highlights and capture it, so you don't have to go back in and edit it and things like that. And this has been particularly well on closing calls for me. attraction calls. I can see my percentage of talk time versus their time. I'm like, man, I needed to shut up, or just go back and review my game like an athlete, right? Make small adjustments, because all it takes is that 1% adjustment could, over the long haul, have me the difference between showing up on a moon or a star. And I'm trying to land on the moon. Hopefully you guys are taking your attraction game seriously. We added probably about 130 agents in the last 30 days from the last report that was out. So thank you guys, every single one of you guys that sponsored at least one person, because only 5% of this company has ever attracted really like more than a couple of people. That's it. 12% of this company has only sponsored someone. And so when people say all we do is recruit, that's bananas and that's bogus. However, we are the number one privately independent brokerage across most of the categories. So you guys are crushing it with sales. When we have people like Michelle, Blake, Matt Smith, Tierny, Jordan, Grant Johnson, Tammi, Mike Gerbic, you name it. And there's a whole slew of bunch of people chasing, a bunch of people that I don't have time to mention, but we're rocking it. And so, Michelle, I'm going to pull up a slide and stuff like that, but I really want to talk about why do we build into build events? Like, why do we build into One Big Fire? Why do we build into the masterminds? Because when you and I were introduced with each other, you were trying to attract one of my icon agents, right? Like, you were going to recruit him. Chris was nice enough to listen to you, probably because you sound good or whatever. It's like, and you really thought you had a chance with him. You're saying there's a chance.
I did. I thought there was a chance.
There's a chance. And then,
there's always a chance. There's always a chance.
Chris, this is how it can change your life, by just following these systems. So Chris had been around long enough and hearing about building an empire. He's a 4 or 5 time icon agent out in Washington. He's not building a team. He crushed it. He makes a lot of money. Chris, shout out to you, man. I appreciate you. He's made some big connections for me over the years, but he's a little more introverted. That would be safe to say, right, Michelle? A little more introverted.
Extremely.
Until you get to know him. And then it's like, Chris, yeah, okay, I love you, bro. Then he opens up. But he looked at recruiting as a negative. Like, I can remember when we were expanding, he's been here since the beginning with me, but we all joined for different reasons. And that's what you got to understand, because I used to think everybody joined because of why I joined, and that's not the case. And so I was only talking about what I wanted to talk about. And that is one of the many mistakes that I had made early on. But what did I do with you, Michelle, once I already had the game figured out? I probably had about 500 agents when he introduced you to me, and then you were going to recruit me, and you're saying there's a chance. You know what I mean? But I followed the system. And so from your standpoint, how organic was that when we invited you to your first event? You had to come to multiple events. It took over 1.5 years to get the deal done. We know your situation. Most people understand that it was sticky. You had ownership of multiple offices throughout the Northwest and was running that thing. And has some partners and stuff like that. And so to just untangle all that stuff, it took some time. And then you had to have some belief in yourself that you've been sharing your story at recent events with Brent Gove. But I want to know, like, from your standpoint, just like I'm going to ask Tierny and Grant, a few of our other guests, like, what was their perception getting to the event? What was it during the process? And then post, like, it had you thinking about stuff. And it wasn't until because we first invited you to Vegas, and then you went to Puerto Vallarta later. So maybe bring me up to speed on the first invite event, because you thought it was something different, but what was the experience like?
Yeah. So I jumped. It's funny how it happens so fast. And when you get your curiosity piqued, right? It was just enough for me to go, okay, what is this? It was just enough to say, okay, yes, I'll come to that event. Right. But you don't know what to expect. I really wasn't sure what I was going to get from it. And when I came to Vegas, just 3 days after the 3-way call with you and Brent, right? I really didn't understand what I was getting into.
Hold on. Did you guys hear that? 3 days before the event, we made the invite to her, because that was just how the conversation went, guys. So we have build coming up in a month, like less than a month.
1 month.
1 month. And so we're going to give you guys documents and how to create your hit list, but you need to get your ticket right now for build. 3 days. Why 3 days? Don't you have a daughter? Don't you have a life? 3 days.
Yeah,
Why 3 days?
I got a little baby. So and again, guys, I did not understand at all what all of this was. I didn't fully understand the opportunity, but my curiosity was piqued just enough. They said, can you be here in 3 days? You got to come here. And I booked a ticket and I flew out there 3 days later. And it was interesting because I didn't get the full experience. That was it EXPCon? Because it was Vegas? I think so.
It was yep.
But I got to sit down with the people. I got to be able to have direct, long conversations with the people that could have impact on me. And that's what these events do, right? That's what it's about. But I wanted to touch on probably the biggest thing for me. So then I got to that room and that gave me a whole layer of information of, okay, this is real. I understand the mission. I believe in that. I need to know more. And then I went to Puerto Vallarta, right? Then I went to the big mastermind. That was the game changer for me because I go to a ton of events. I've been highly immersed in the Mike Ferry organization for years, highly immersed. Of course, I own a Century 21 franchise for years. It's where a lot of my relationships were and such. I go to all sorts of masterminds, all sorts of stuff. But when I got in that.
Hold on. I'm mute.
Oh, because you were trying to mute.
Yeah, I was trying to mute the other person. Sorry about that.
You're all good. So this is why these events are so important, right? So when I went to that event, the opportunity here is different, which is why the energy and the culture is so different. There is no way to explain it. There is no way to talk about it. It's why these events are so important. They have the highest impact on anyone you bring, yourself included, anyone in your organization, and any of your guests that you're trying to move forward. That you have to believe it. You have to go to these events to understand the difference of what it is in this industry and then get them there. It was when I went to that first big event, which Adam back then, I don't even know how big that event was because this is so long. This was 3.5 years ago, probably, because then it took me a year to come over. But when I saw the energy and the opportunity and the culture and got to speak to and observe all of these different agents, some people I had heard of in the industry, all these different people, that lights a completely different fire for what people are looking for. People are looking for growth, opportunity, and something more in their life. That is what these events do for people. They're not going to get that from any other real estate event they go to. And that's why these are so important, even for ourselves, to refuel that. I was just at Shareholders. It was actually my first time at Shareholders. I came out of that event on fire because it relights that fuel every single quarter.
Yeah. Let's unpack that a little bit real quick. It's like you had to get around and have these high level conversations that you were speaking of. And so when we asked you what you would like to achieve with us by meeting us there, it's obviously making sure that the social proof adds up and the conversation level is elevated with the actual net results that you're looking for. Because what really past getting to Vegas, which strategically we had you spend time with Willems, you got to have breakfast and spend time with me. And then I'm like, oh, I got to go off and it's an event there with corporate. So a lot of our people were there, but we strategically got you around everybody all the way up to a dinner with Glenn.
Yeah.
And Dave Kennard. So you got to have a private dinner with Glenn and Brent and about 7 other people. And it's like, that had to make you feel special. But past that, it's like you get back home, you get back into your life. You're not ready to fully commit or whatever process you're going through with your other business relationship. But what I kept doing with you is showing you the growth, because I told you the way that you were attempting to expand was the way that we had already expanded and was top in the nation at doing it that way. And we had learned all these other constraints. And you were I think you guys were about to buy another franchise, if I'm not mistaken, and open up another market. And you had seen how fast I was growing. At that time, I think we were adding 30 people, maybe less than that, every single month. And that's crazy to me, because normally you're adding 1, 2, 3. If you're running a traditional
It's so
team.
funny. So when I met you, you were at the size, give or take, that I am now, maybe even smaller. And I was like in shock as a broker. I was in shock at what you were doing at that size, right? That's how crazy it is. It's the size I am now.
Yeah. And I think from that 1 year, because I doubled every single year in production and agent count, really except this year, but we maintained the shift, and we obviously took a punch with it. But then we were in, it actually was 3 years ago, because it was at One Big Fire actually down in Cabo the first year that we went there. And I spoke at that event, I think so. And when I come off stage, I remember you saying your numbers had doubled in 1 year or something like that. And you were shocked,
Yeah.
right?
It was
And
double. Yeah.
yeah, doubled. And there, due to tap rooting, and we're going to get into that today, because what is tap rooting, right? And it's like, how do you find all these people to speak with and book your calendar back to back? How do you do it? Are you calling people every day, Michelle? Are you buying a list of agents? No, you're not. It's like, you're not doing any of that stuff. And so we're going to get into that. But I can remember when you were sitting around the pool, or we're sitting around at dinner, and you were like, I'm going to do it. Like, this is it, right? Because getting to our masterminds is different than getting to EXPCon and the shareholders event. Those are two corporate events that obviously you want to show up to, and culturally to get your full icon award back, which is a 16,000 in the form of EXPI, which, if you haven't looked at the stock the last couple of days, it's been on fire. But you said it was that event that did it. What particularly was it at that event? Because you don't have me just selling you. You know what? Like, I have a horse in the race, right? I have some interest in it, but you end up joining and coming up under Chris. Chris is like not trying to recruit, not trying to do anything. Now he has 500 people under him, right? Changed his life. All he's got to do is be able to unlock the cascading levels. But what was it from that event? Was it some, like, the multiple stories that everybody was saying the same thing, and so they all can't be lying, or the amount of growth you've seen, or what?
I think it probably was a combination of a couple things. So the earlier time where I met all of the bigger players, that was all great. That interest for me was honestly understanding, like, the mission behind, like, why is this company even here? What created this to begin with? Like, what is the concept behind all of this? And that gave me alignment with that.
Right.
The difference with going from like EXPCon or anything like that, then to going to these masterminds, is people want to change their lives wherever that. Now, you could be selling hundreds of homes, you could be just getting started, you could be struggling, you could own companies, it doesn't matter. But people they're trying to figure out how to have more, and it's not necessarily just in because they're going to do more units. And I think it was when I got there and I was able to talk to so many different people that weren't trying to bring me in, you get what I'm saying? I'm not going anywhere with them. I'm not going onto their downlines or anything. And you just got to have all these conversations. You got to see all of these testimonials over and over and over again. When I finally walked out of that, I was like, it was no longer, I need to look at this. It was, I'm starting today. How could I get started? I'm establishing right now everything that I need to do to start making that change, to start creating the business that I wanted. Because I've been exposed to enough. You're going to get the layers of how it can impact so many different people. It's all the same thing.
And with as many choices as there was out there with EXP, did you get into shopping around? Because you know what, you're not most agents, right? You're definitely an alpha. You're a special type of person. And I don't mean special, but you're special. No, I'm kidding. Like, what was it where it was like you stayed with that relationship with Chris, making that introduction? You stayed with me. Was it the follow-up? Was it getting you to the events? Was it getting you around the people that you needed to speak with to help make those core decisions? Yeah, you never shot me out. You didn't once compare to another line like what everybody does, right? And it's like, what was your decision-making process like?
So a couple of things. I think that, and think of the line that we are in, Adam, from you and to Jeff and from Brent and all the way up. That was very important to me, right? That is something that I vetted. And what's important to me is who's helping the agents boots on the ground. This is something that's I talk about this almost every single day. It's the most important thing to me. And so I saw that the leadership was there. The right people were there. I was observing everyone else. I had time through that almost a year period to observe. And there's powerhouses here, right? There's so many great organizations, all of these great people. But I love two things about this. The people that are even on here, take Tierny, take Matt Smith, take all these amazing top leaders and top teams all over the country. I'm talking about our organization, our network, the level of players here, boots on the ground, how many homes they're selling, what they're doing. That team master call that Jervik runs. There's so much value in that, and I also like. So, do I think that we have the infrastructure and the upline with the resources? 100%. I also love this platform because some of the biggest people that I work with, right? They're from a random introduction to me from a new licensee. It doesn't matter. And I actually love that about this model because it doesn't matter who it is. They are going to look for it. Just have the confidence that the support and the resources are here, which obviously, Adam, you're going to talk about a bunch of that. But that when you can articulate that and you get them connected in the right way, the value is here. They're going to join. And I saw that right away. I loved the fact, like, I am forever grateful to Chris. It doesn't matter that Chris isn't like some big leader over here doing all this different stuff. He actually does tons of stuff with me and my organization in a different way. I love that he is the one who introduced this to me and got me connected in the way that it happened. And that matters a lot to me. That was very important, Adam, the way that you treated me and how everything intertwined with what we're working with.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. So yeah, he might not be a big attractor trying to lead these modern teams or running a traditional team, but he has definitely found his value in the niche inside of the overall group, not just maybe with the people that are that he's brought in and having all these lines, but 500 people is a lot of people. You expanded really fast. And I love seeing the women like you and Tierny shooting up with the likes of Blake and everyone else. And so when you think about what it takes, and we got organizational spelled wrong here. Is it,
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, she's the one who caught that. You're making and building these relationships with other people that are cross-pollinating in your line at events like this. And so it is important. Do you think I would have been able to get that deal done, Michelle, without getting you to an event? I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. It would have still been figurative conversations as much. I might have liked you and all the stuff you're showing me. And maybe it would have taken a long time, but not at all. The impact that an event makes is 100x anything that any of us can ever do. 100x. Even if you think, this is why I'm so big on this with our agents and our organization. I think right now I have 30 for my organization going. My goal is 40 with some guests that I'm getting to build coming up in a month, because the impact of anyone you bring in, right? Especially people that you believe want something more, right? You have to get them to these events, because whatever you're teaching them, whatever you're telling them, trust me, it's at a level 1. It'll be 100x the impact you're able to make to get them to find that fuel or what they really want, or see the opportunity, what they can do. We are not able to do it on our own. They have to get into those rooms. It's a must.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. It wouldn't happen if we didn't meet at an event, right? Because at the event, like even that breakfast, I can really dig into your pain points, and then you being able to look me in my eyes and see I am not just an avatar or somebody on Zoom. And then you can see the social proof. Wow, he's got a decent sized business. He has a lot of social proof around here, and respectable, right? It's not smoke and mirrors. It's not a bunch of hype, but then we can dig in to help you solve your issues. And that's what we got too. So guys, what is the number one challenge in your business right now? Is it leads? Is it sellers, inventory? Maybe you're trying to attract right now, but you haven't had any luck. You can't have them. People don't watch the video, or maybe after they watch the video, they don't call you back, or you can't get anyone to an event. You're extending invitations, but you can't get them to an event. So what is the number one challenge in your business? I'd be interested in like hearing and going back and reviewing a lot of this stuff, but this should say my first 4 years in EXP, because I just hit my 5th year in EXP. Over my 4 years, I was paid right around, it was like $2.4 million in revenue share, residual passive income from starting at zero, at scratch. Because right here, you can see I had a lot of FLQAs, personalized sponsors, 113 agents, at this time. But then again, Oh, no, I tied it together for what it was for 2,500 people. Sorry. But the screenshot down here, I had 5, 4, and 23 agents. 23 agents is a decent sized team, traditional team, right? And this was my first check I got from EXP was $52,000. I thought that I made the biggest mistake in history.
$52.
I worked my ass off to get these 4 or 5 business deals, not recruiting. I'm talking about people like Tierny, Jordan, like people like Grant Johnson, like him. He came later. He's on here. I see him. What's up, Grant? It's like business deals. Like people move their brokerage, their team over, and we had 23 agents. And I said, I cannot scale $52. We're used to keeping 70%, 60%. Taking a franchise fee off the top as an independent. And it's like, how am I going to make any money? I said, they're the best salespeople in the world. I made the hugest mistake. And I just stuck with it. Like that month, it was deflating for me. It took a little bit of momentum out and I started to question myself. However, going into my 3rd month, I made over $10,000 residual passive income that 3rd or 4th month. And so then I was like, okay, it paid off. And so I committed to a good 6 months of foundational building and not expecting much in return. And then, as you guys can see, the 100 grand was a couple years ago at Build. If you guys were there, we had that big party for top agent experts. Like we traditionally try to get everybody together, but that was like our first big one. I never wrote a check for that much alcohol or finger food in a long time. I could have bought a small rental, guys, but I appreciate you guys. But I hit 100 grand in my revenue share. The first time I'd ever seen it hit 100 grand. So within 3.5 years, 3 years, really, I went from $52 to 100,000. I think it paid out the upper 80s, early 90s or whatever was actual payout because we know how stuff rolls over. And so everything really starts small and then goes big. And I know that you've put a lot of work in to get to your 500 people. And maybe talk about how you've had to exert a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and keep the production and the coaching piece alive to get to where you're at today. How would you say your journey went from the 0 to 500?
I think what's interesting is I had so probably one of my biggest things that I always want to talk about with people, because I observe this with people, I observe this with real estate agents, I observe this with when you just use the numbers of who's actually building across EXP as a whole, and then you would think about our own organizations. I know exactly what it looks like in my own organization. If you're not intentional about building and growing and exactly what you're trying to create in the bigger picture, so I look at that as like a 5-year plan, you're not going to do it if it's not intentional. So for me, Adam, I took notes on every single person and analyzed. I knew there were averages. I analyzed all of it. And I was like, okay, this is what it takes to grow. And so I had already planned out, okay, even if I start here, I'm willing to do this, knowing that I'm not going to make anything for 6 months. I had literally planned it. And I was like, if I do it this is what that income is going to look like. And here's how I can sustain it with all the other things that I run. But I was intentional on, I have to do this to create this result, if that makes sense. But I knew what I wanted, which is what I'm saying is I knew what I wanted. And that's why I had to be intentional about it. I made a plan. I know that I wasn't going to go sell a house and make $10,000. It was going to be bringing on 29 agents that might pay us $500 the first month, right? I already knew that, but I knew the impact of the compound effect. If you just follow the process and the system, that's how you create that result. But I had an intentional plan where I built intentionally on the revenue share at whatever scale you're doing it, or it won't happen.
Yeah. Because these 21 people or 29 people turned into 2,500 people.
Yeah.
In that amount of time. And so something I wanted to go back and highlight with this slide is this should say 4 years, guys, but my revenue share paid out right under 2.5 million in 4 years. But last year, get this, it was not almost 900,000. On average, we could say you're making 600, depending on your average sales price, $700 per agent per year. I track it to per transaction or per month, how much we make per transaction spread out. And I can get into all that stuff later, but just take $500 on the low end. Hell, even take 400 because everything's down. And I've never ran these numbers this low, but take $500 and times it by 2,500 agents. What is that? What is that?
A lot of money.
A lot of money. Let's see. I don't know.
It's 1.2. It's 1.25 million.
So so in almost 2 years, I'm making I made over a 4-year period. And so when you talk about that compounding effect, the geometric growth through this, that is a good example because I put in work and built the foundation like you're doing right now. When you and I met, you're the same size, but then you keep tap rooting through those individuals, and it's all about production too. It's if you take John and you help John blow up his business, you know who else is going to be interested in that?
Everyone.
Everybody that wants to sell more houses, right? The best way to get it unstuck is to make sure you're also working with your upline. So if any of you guys are in a sales slump, jump off this call and roll right into Bill Pikes with us. He's coaching Jeff Williams' team, and we're doing the 2-hour special on building an empire, systems, everything expansion, everything attraction. But Bill Pikes is bringing some straight fire at 3:30 Central Standard Time. Hop on there or get some of your guests that may be non-EXP people on that event. Get with it on my calendar if you feel stuck. AdamLiveChat.com. You guys can go there, schedule yourself, and we've been knee deep in production. And so having this call around building an empire systems felt very timely. We've trained on the expansion systems for almost 5 years. Market shift happened. We created another mastermind for it, but we've been presenting the model baked in with our goods between US and Canada. And so the opportunity looked like this for us with 88,000 agents, not 85. But when I got started in EXP, Canada was just getting going. I have sponsored Jared Shabaga, by the way, shout out to him. That's, how I ended up with 4 different lions in Canada. He was the first top 100 agents to come over because I was saving him 60 grand because the cap, his split was better at Century 21. But now we're in 22 countries though. And so I believe that without a doubt, it's going to keep expanding. I was paid on homes closed in 7 different countries last month. 7 different countries. I don't know people in these countries. I'm attempting to understand the global expansion game and involve myself and study and learn things so I can hopefully create down the road. But if you talk to Glenn, a few of the other leaders in this company, they're saying 100 countries, 1 million agents, right? So I believe that these other countries are not even getting going. It took a while to get going in the United States. It's taken a while to get going in Canada. They're a couple years behind us, but there's no other model that will ever be the same as EXP today. There's a lot of knockoffs. There's a lot of companies that are imitating what we're doing. But the fact of the matter is Glenn is highly profitable. He owns the technology. We own Verbellum. So when people say that they're just like us, except for everything that matters, like the expansion levels, we'll just talk about another company that is comparable to us. My buddy sent me a spreadsheet, and if he was to move his business, he's bigger than me, by the way, we'll just say one of the competitors that say that the other levels don't matter, he was losing almost 600 grand a year. That is exponentially growing, by the way. And so those levels early on might not matter, but that 6th and 7th level does matter, right? Down the road. For me, I'm having to make some new brand promises, bringing on some new partners as well, because I left about 350 grand on the table that EXP is willing to pay me. The transactions are there. The production is there. If I'm willing to just develop a few more frontline partners, right? And I'm catching our breath. I think we onboarded, 3 people in the last 30 days. Shout out to Mark Benefield, came back. So we're hoping to get live and direct back. But, EXP was the first mover in the cloud space, and we own Verbellum and all of that stuff. At scale, when I'm seeing all these other countries open up and the cost has already been carried, all the overhead, right? The production needs to come in. I'm no stock expert at all, guys. Don't take me but when these other countries start to catch on and the infrastructure, the cost is already there for the most part, besides scaling with the labor piece to stay caught up with the support side. I just see our stock doing really well in the future. Yeah, I know it's doing well now, but EXPCon rolled out AI Luna, or we got And it's like when you start to get in that AI piece that I was talking about, even the program Read that's running this Zoom, it changed how I looked at Zooms and reviewed my coaching calls and everything. And look that up, guys. It's the best money that you can spend right now. And then if you're using video editing, like I got the transcripts in there for you guys. I have other things that you guys have seen me releasing. That's through Descript. And so if you're editing videos and things like that, and you want the AI piece tied into it, because then it makes it easier to repurpose it for blogs, LinkedIn, putting maybe some short form video or reels on Instagram stories or Facebook with the written word with it. That's what I've been toying around with. And I love it. And so,
On it.
yeah. When you get back, when you're talking about that compounding interest, it really is like what Jay Kinder says, the eighth wonder of it. And so let's just look at this. This sheet is interesting because there's two things that us as real estate agents we're not good at. And that's usually paying our taxes and saving money, right? And so my revenue share, let's just look at that $100,000 a month, even though I've taken a hit this year and it's definitely lower than that. I'm probably around 70,000, 50, 60 was in the wintertime. We really took a hit and took a punch as well. But I love that we're building back up. We've added over 100 frontline partners. So you guys are getting back after it. We have a lot of you new people on here as hopefully plugging into the building and Empire systems. But that would be like me having $12 million in the bank at a 5% interest rate just to get that $50,000. I don't know about you, but I don't have $12 million sitting around. And I don't know anywhere else where I can do something once or twice and get them plugged into a great network and a great company. And we'll just say, Chris, play a role in the cog. It don't matter what position I have on the team. He has 500 agents under him now, right?
Yeah.
And so it's egoless. And I love that. And so when you really think of it like that, it's if you can get to 50, you can get to 500. And I used to think this was kind of baloney early on when I got started, because I'm like, you're still going to have to be sharp. You're still going to have to do all these initial things. And I believe that it's right, that if you can build a foundation with a small group of people and they're quality people, the people on this call, not just a random agent, a new agent or whatever, because like Grant's license hanging with us isn't like a new agent. So the numbers might look the same, but the quality of person that you get these deals done with or attract matters in terms of going from where you're at, Michelle, at 500 to where my goal is 5,000. But I believe that I am going to get to 5,000. And I do believe that I will be paid on hopefully 15 countries closings in the next couple of years. That's really my goal. But the quality of person matters, but how you attract is how they're going to attract. So if they see you as some social media superstar, or let's just say you're a cold caller calling to do belly to belly coffee and all that stuff, that's how they think that they're going to recruit, or they have to have a lot of charisma, or maybe you're pitching from lunch and learns and doing things a little bit differently than building an empire stuff that is working for you. That's great. But if it does not duplicate, none of this stuff matters. Even speaking with some of my younger guys in the modern group, they get frustrated that they'll have 60 frontliners and then an overall group of 120. And what I would say they're doing wrong is they're not launching their partners or really having them make their top list of 100 and then taking over that list for them and learning how to edify them, positioning them, and not creating weirdness if they end up taking the list over or making the calls themselves. Because Brian Carruthers even says that if they don't want to make the calls to their network, you can work on some scripting and being able to edify and get something that they approve of where you can make the calls. So I think launching people and creating that hit list and building into the next event is the biggest things for me. When I asked Gerbic not to make the same mistakes I made and I invited him to an event, these are different masterminds than what you're used to. People, pitching their product and storytelling on stage and then asking you to go meet them at their booth to sign up for something. This isn't what this is. These are all the people that are in financial alignment with Brent Go, Mike Gerbic, Adam Bailey, Kinder's tied in there, Tierny, Jordan. We're all tied back to Brent, the biggest lines in EXP. It's crazy. No, we're in business with, like when Michelle was referencing the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. My sponsor is number 19. That's who I'm in business with. on the expansion side. And so I didn't follow Brick's system at first because I thought it was cheesy. I was judging it. And I had 90 agents in 90 days. That's how he introduced me the very first time I spoke. And it took us 8 years to build a brokerage up to 80 people, right? And for us to do that within 90 days, different. The difference is the money was different. The relationships are different, right? However, I remember getting in the hot tub and Brett came down and got in the hot tub and we're just down there. Once upon a time, I did drink. I've been sober, guys, for 17 months, so I'm excited about it. But we were down there drinking in the hot tub after the day of masterminding, and we're carrying on. And Brent got in the pool, and I've known Brent Grannon for about 8 years, maybe more longer than that. I take that back 10 or 11 years now because this is my 13th year. And I never seen him really get serious like he did with me in the pool that day or the hot tub. And he's like, Adam, like, you're so talented. He's like, if you just follow the system, you could be crushing it. And I said, what are you talking about, Brent? I am crushing it. I just got off stage, 90 agents in 90 days. Like, where's the excitement? And he's like, no, but you're not like following the system and you could be doing better. And I'm serious. And he's like, if you would just remove some of your ego or whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? So I said, what is the system? He retold me the system. I said, dude, it's cheesy. I'm like, no, it's like, I was overcomplicating it. And then I was judging Brent in terms of the amount of houses he was selling versus what we were doing, even though his volume's crazy just because of California. And so I was quantifying, judging what he had, what I wanted off of home sales. And we do more home sales. So I had to know better on the marketing side, right? And then I got involved with Brian Carruthers and building an empire as we all know it. And I learned that there's a lot more to this expansion stuff than the skills that I currently had, the mindset that I had, and the system is totally different. I see people jump in with us and they're doing $1 billion in commercial or doing some amazing stuff. Grant will tell his story here coming up when I segue into him. Grant's into building and construction. He has a modern team and done a lot of fantastic stuff, but he told me, Adam, I'm not a recruiter. I'm not gonna probably do this, or I'm not gonna do as great as you and Mike date. And so it'll be interesting to see what some of his limiting beliefs were, or new systems or mindsets or skills that he had to incorporate so he could plug into the system. The system is here, right? And so when I think about that, it's like when I say everything starts small. Michelle, did you start at zero?
Zero.
Was you nervous?
I was very nervous.
All right. Me too.
There was nervousness. There was doubt, even though I saw it and I was like, that's what I got to do. Anyone that's actually heard my story, I did not come over with a company. I came over by myself, like Adam, with a company that we did not touch. So it was just me, myself, and I. And okay, I'm going to go build this by myself now.
What's the one thing that you had to do differently in your business to grow these metrics? So what did you have to change? What did you have to do daily that was different than you were doing before? Because it's all about you.
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys, when I talk about like the intention, right? So I operate that already. So I actually operate very similarly as I personally did before, but because I already follow a structure, a schedule, my intention, my time is blocked out and committed to what's most important to me. Let's put it that way, right? With actually spending your committed time on building. The difference for me was exactly that. It wasn't recruiting people. It was creating strategic business partnerships. And that is what we do here. You're not recruiting people to work under you at EXP. It doesn't work that way. It's compound. And I just want to say this. I love this terminology because this is what we do, right? We talk about the compound effect of what we're able to create, right? And one of the reasons why I'm here, I know I'll have to jump off in 5 minutes because I have another class I have to run. But if something is to happen to me, right? What I've created right now with my strategic business partners will never slow down, will never stop. That is going to my daughter after this for life. And it's not how it works in the real world of our businesses that we were running, right, Adam?
Yeah.
And when we talk about the compound effect of growth, the most important thing to me here is what you're digging into now. It's compound value. When you think about what all these players on this call right here bring to the table, and that's what I understood, Adam, when I got there. I was like, oh, I'm not building a brokerage by myself anymore. Look what Tierny does. Look what Blake Cory's doing. Look what Matt Smith's doing. Look what Adam's doing. Look what Mike Jervik's doing. Look what Jeff's doing. Brent Go. Look what all these people are doing. And it's that compound value. right? And for the example, for anyone that sees this is, so like I'm bringing someone in for a very high level AI training in 2 weeks. You'll see me announce it into Top Agent Experts. It's free. Everyone's invited. Everyone should be there. Those couple of tools, Adam, that you were dropping, this changes the game of what we can do with effectiveness and efficiencies and growth in our businesses. There's going to be probably 10 to 15 tools provided for people to use. People need to know that. So I talk about this compound value. It's that layering impact of what we can do to help people sell homes, build a bigger business, build a stronger business because of the compound value. That is the biggest value, in my opinion. And that's what sold me was the business model and the financial model. That's great. It's the compound value that actually allows us to do all of that, I believe.
Yeah, I like that. So you have to focus on developing people versus making sales, because you're not going to be able to have that compound effect or that geometric growth if you don't have the social proof of others growing with you. We have so many people growing with us, and I'm not talking about growing a little, like they are exploding and they're doing amazing. And being able to tell their story through the hero's journey, it's a win for them and a win for us. Like, it's like you're in alignment with the right group. And I know that you have to go here in a minute, and then we'll pull Tierny or Grant up here with this, guys. But Michelle, what are some of maybe the last nuggets that you could drop? You just onboarded a brokerage of 80 people, 90 people. You got a business deal down. Guys, that's the difference. She's not recruiting. We're not recruiting agents. We're looking at getting strategic business deals done where people have resources that they can match with us, with the leadership, the finance, the growth, the ambition, the vision, with all like-minded people. So what got the deal done with the 80 people? Maybe if you could speak on that for a minute. And then the home, what did it look like, or what did events look like? Tie back with that, and you can.
Yeah, I think that, and for a few, so for this big brokerage, I just brought over the number one office and the market share that they're in Washington State, one of the number one teams out of a Keller Williams market share. I just got the verbal center of the application yesterday with a 200 unit agent, high level thinkers, right? And what got the deal done, okay, it goes back to the conversation with them is different. It wasn't like, come here and do this. This is all the financials. They came, so I'll use that big brokerage as an example. Mind you, they knew I came over to EXP when I did, right? 2.5 years ago or however long. And they talked a lot of crap about it, right? Like people will. Guess what happened when the market changed?
They needed something.
They're not having as much fun anymore. And so that's where the conversations, and you said this at the very beginning, Adam, anyone you've talked to a year ago and before, you need to be, and they go cold because they said no and whatever you did with them before, you never stop following up with somebody, dripping value on them. You need to call all of those people because they're in a 100% different position today than they were a year ago and 2 years ago. Completely different world. But for them, it was that they hit a pain point of, like this does suck, right? And here's these different pain points. And it was the compound value. It was, if I can take what I'm doing and I can compound what you're doing, and I can compound everything that's under Top Agents is doing, and I can compound what Brent Gove's doing, what can we do? It becomes a no-brainer. And that's with all these bigger partners, especially. It's that conversation as a business partner and the compound value to move it forward.
Right.
And getting them to events. So that 200 unit agent, that's a new relationship. I've been with her 3 times in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, already signing the applications. She'll be at Bill, right? It was immediately, you have to be here, right? That brokers that is around them, their main core of our people, everyone's going to Bill. So everything's been led into that. The smaller brokerage I brought over was brought immediately over to an event.
So that is the play for you. Create that curiosity, invoke some desire, deposit some value, keep them in front of your other partners with good social proof and growth, things that they are trying to achieve and elevate to, and then make the invitation. Brett says it best. If you guys could just become professional promoters or inviters, be that conduit to making the connection with that right person, just like Chris did with me and you.
Yes.
It will change.
Made the right connection the right way, and it's all that I need. And I'll say one thing before I jump off, which I think is equally as important, because people are going to make these decisions at these events, guys. At the same time, let's say someone comes on board, because they will, right? So like this gal's, she's already coming on board, right? I've had many people, they're coming on board between events. Your job is to get them at the next event. Because again, they still don't, whatever you think they know of EXP, whatever you think they know of the opportunity or how great of a job you did at sharing with them the compound value, they don't know. Like my job with all of these guys that have come in, especially recently, everybody, is to get them to the next event. Does that make sense? Like that, it's get them to the event, to move the decision forward. Once they're with you, get them to an event, get them to a mastermind.
I like it. And having them create that hit list right off the first few hours of them being excited. That's what I used to do. And then I got away from it. And then Brian Carruthers said, you're crazy. That's when they're the most excited. That's when they're the most fired up. That's why they're the most intrigued or still have that curiosity buzz before something happens within onboarding or EXP with transactions or whatever. And so being able to create that list of 100 right off of the bat, that's important. And thank you, Michelle. I know you had a jet. Grant, we see you here. Is Tierny here? Who else? I don't know if Tierny's here yet, but I'm going to pull one of you guys in next. I don't know if Tierny's here yet, but is she here?
I'm here.
All right. What's up, Tierny? And Grant's here. Cool. So I'm going to chat with you and Grant a little bit here. And would you rather talk to your, like new recruits that you're hammering the phone with or making calls to, or would you rather want to tap root through, we'll just say Tierny's network or Grant's network and talk to their 10, 15, 20 sharpest people in their network to look at the model and see if there's some financial alignment or core values or vision that can connect with each other. And so Tierny was a coaching client of mine when we were independent for, I don't know how long, Tierny, a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 years or so.
She'll tell you she paid too much money. And I loved it. And I go down there, I meet Walsh and her, and she became the number one KW team in the number one market center in the world. But when I called her and told her that I was selling my equity, and it's a whole nother story I'm not going to get into, but I had to walk away from everything and serve a non-compete, non-disclosure, all of that stuff. But what did you tell me when I called and told you that?
I told you were having an early midlife crisis.
Well, yeah, and it's like on my way to buy the Corvette too at the same time because this rev share is going to hit. No, it's like, I then said, hey, I can understand how you feel, but it's like, I have to make decisions to be competitive. And I've had a real problem that I needed solved in my business and nobody could really talk about except Jeff Williams talked about the business solutions tools, which was enterprise. And I needed enterprise, but most people don't talk about enterprise, right? I didn't need revenue share. I didn't need KB Core. I didn't need stock, even though I respected it and understood it because that's, where I was selling insurance with Aflac before that. But what did I do? I had no idea about the system. I had no idea about the model. Brett and Jeff offered to get me to a mastermind. I'm about to launch and go live. And I said, I can't go to no mastermind. I've been at all the masterminds. I know damn near almost everybody. I was like, I have a focus. I risked everything I had. It cost me $385,000. And still, there's not all these social proofs and everything the way it is now. It's easy. It's easier to start today. People are like, did I miss the opportunity? No, the opportunity is easier. And it's like, I wouldn't wish anybody to go through what we went through. But what I did do was invite you, right? Because you're a friend and I genuinely cared. I said, and I had no idea about bringing other people. And I said, if I could get you to this event, would you and Walsh come? And I know you've already looked at it. I know you think I'm crazy, but as a coaching client or past coaching client, because I can't really work with you in that capacity at that time anymore, I said, as a friend, at least you can come and witness what I have going on. And then you can tell me if I'm having a midlife crisis, if I'm crazy, if I'm stupid and making a bad decision. That was really organic between us. I had no idea, I had no intention of you joining. I didn't know really what I didn't know at that time. However, Glenn was able to, or not Glenn, Gene was able to tap root through me. So he's talking to one of my sharpest people in my network. He never called you. He didn't ask you to come, but Gene spent 4 hours on the beach with you. And you had that respect with him through the KW stuff. When I had no idea who the legend was, I didn't know who he was or anything until I met him. That dude has had monumental impact helping me get some big deals done, i.e. you. Gervik lived in Puerto Rico before it was cool to be the EXP people saving on the entrepreneur tax there. Gilbert was already retired there, and I was trying to get him back. Gene just happens to move right next door to him. I'm like, Gene, work on that guy, man. Get this deal done. And Gene's working on my sharpest people, and you got back from that event and you called me. I don't know. It was maybe a week later. I was in build mode. I was like off in races. We had a good time. You recently sent me some video from that room. We had 50 people in that room, 50 people in that room to 7,000 at build or 5,000 last year. And so it's going to be exciting. And so get to build. It will change your life. But you called me and we had looked at a partnership deal done before as we were independents and you were with KW. Like we also had talked about that, attempted to make it work. We couldn't make the numbers work. You invested millions into your brand. You're already doing well. And it's like, then you said, hey, I'm coming to EXP, or I answered the phone and you said, hey, I might be having a midlife crisis. I said, why? What's going on? It was like a week later and you said, hey, I'm coming to EXP. I never asked you to join or anything. And none of that would have happened if I didn't get you to a build event or whatever at Puerto Vallarta 5 years ago, right? And so maybe talk about your experience with the masterminds and then how it affected you. What did you see? And then how's it helped you? Has you been building out to 500 agents that you have now, which is phenomenal?
Yeah, so I have 550 right now, and I've been just maintaining there. I think for me, I was at a place where I was looking for something different. I was looking for ownership. I was looking for the things that EXP offers, but I didn't know they offered it. And when I had the opportunity to talk to Gene, he really broke it down to me, and it was obvious that I was definitely not going to spend much more time at KW. And I had investigated purchasing a franchise. So I looked at other options because I was really wanting that next level, like passive income, build something that I can. Michelle mentioned she's building for her daughter. So build something I could leave to future generations. So building generational wealth. And when Gene broke it down to me, how this company has established itself and set up these opportunities for us as agent owners and getting the compensation for our contribution to the growth, it just was a light bulb that this was the place that I wanted to grow and be a part of. So, and prior to that, I had looked at getting ownership at KW. So I think all those things together, plus the relationship that we had, it just all worked out where I was able to make a quick decision once we got back from Mexico.
And I think until here recently, because I think I'm 5 years in and some health issues with my family and stuff I've had to miss. I think I've only missed a couple of masterminds. I've missed more corporate events than the mastermind. And then you and I never missed a mastermind for 3 years? We were at them every 90 days. We were immersed in it. We were learning. And so you're sharp. You guys travel around. You and Walsh are well connected. You've been to a lot of events. Why keep paying those airline tickets and why keep coming to these events every 90 days?
It's a refresher. Even the Bible says you need to renew your mind because so many things happen, especially with market shifts. So not only for us getting that refreshing, hey, look at it this way, look at the results people are getting, and you can see yourself in other people's stories. So it not only impacts us personally and refreshes our minds, renews our minds, but also if you get somebody there, they're definitely going to identify with somebody. And it's just an opportunity. Honestly, if you look at what EXP offers, there's nothing else like it. So if anybody's in our business, they need to at least take the time to look at it and understand what they're not a part of yet. Because if you have any type of business mind, you're going to see the model and say, this makes sense for me.
Yeah, for sure. And then it should make sense for a couple of your friends. I love how Brian Carruthers puts this. It's like a lot of people went off recruit. And I know that you had done that early on. A few people had done that, where maybe you can speak on this and maybe help someone else that's in the early climb like you were. What's the difference between attracting for your traditional team versus your modern team? And then if you don't get them hooked into the revenue share and taproot through them quickly, right, they're excited, their likelihood of staying around might be less than someone that's getting a $700 check, $1,000 check. So can maybe you speak on some of your wins and then some of the cons or things that you would do differently with those two entities?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been a team player. So I've always wanted to figure out systems and processes that help me win, and then share those same systems and processes with the people I'm in partnership with. So for me, being able to help other people that I was connected with, because we're all making money together, right? So there's a financial alignment that goes 7 levels deep. It was a no-brainer to, like, I have 33 people on my first level, and then I have 200 and something people on my second level. And then I have 100 and something people on my third level. So that just shows that there's some sort of duplication going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did, for me, it was lunch and learns in the beginning that really helped, because you're doing it live. You can share deposit value and you can create that culture. Like, everybody's a part of the lunch and learn. Everybody's inviting people. We're all working together to deposit value to the people in that local area. I've started doing on-demand stuff now. So I'm sharing, like, it's the same concept, deposit value to the real estate community. So it's just a system that works. You deposit value, people see what it's like to work with you, be in partnership with you, and the people that you're connected to can do the same things.
It's duplicatable.
That's been what has worked for ICE.
It's duplicatable. I like it. Attracting, how do you determine if someone needs to go on your traditional team versus your network? Because a lot of people are attracted to the network, obviously, because they keep more of their own money, but we all know 100% of nothing is nothing. Or you're really depositing that value into your traditional team and helping them develop, right? Not just focused on the sales of what you're doing inside the team. So hopefully you can get the team split and they're part of the Tierny Jordan network. And I know early on, people could be eating up our bandwidth because they needed to be on a traditional team and the revenue share money wasn't worth it for the time invested. And so how do you decide the value that goes into being deposited into your traditional network, but not let it consume you? So if you're still running a high powered traditional team like you, it's like, how can you still hire and make sure you're getting the right people on the right seat of that bus and they still get your attention, right? It's a little bit of a balancing act. And I think that you've fought it, like Jennifer Kenna and a few other people running these high-powered teams with the network, and then making sure that the value in exchange of time is there. And how do you look at that, and how have you had to overcome some of those obstacles?
Yeah, it's figuring it all out. If you have a schedule and you look at the opportunity, the financial opportunity with the revenue share piece, it's one, it doesn't have to be a full-time gig, right? So if you just allocate time to that consistently, it's going to grow. And then it's going to get to a point where it's going to grow without you. In terms of the traditional versus
Modern.
Modern, like who fits where. If they're local, then depending on where their business is, if I have a pretty clear definition of what I'm looking for from my traditional real estate sales team. So if they don't fit that, then they still can be in partnership with me. They can still have access to my calendar. They can still have access to my same systems and tools that work for us to get results on the team. So there's a value add regardless of which way they come in, but everybody's not going to fit for my traditional sales team. So it's pretty clear what I'm looking for that partnership. So it hasn't been like hard thing to distinguish.
Yeah, because you're investing money into it. So it goes back to the other slide that I had right here, or being able to get in versus let in. And that's the difference where when people are attracting, they're just trying, to get a warm body to join or something like that. But I don't know where the slide went, but it's, you want to create some value within your inner circle. And then it's like, there's some requirements and expectations that have to be made to be able to operate in the Tierny Jordan network, because you invest money in it. So you're not just letting every agent on your traditional team. You're going to have to be prospecting. You have to come to meetings. You have to be involved in stuff. You have to develop into a mentor. You got to develop into a coach. And it's the same. Shout out to Sarah if she's on here. She's a newer agent that I just personally sponsored, and she got given to me by a referral. I'm blessed because of all my referrals. However, she's a newer agent, right? And the only reason I sponsored her was because I spent some time with her, and I said, look, you're a new agent and I'm operating a big business, a couple of them. And so I might not be the best person. And so I might need to put you on a team out there or connect you with someone else in the organization, right? And that would just be the right thing to do for her. After spending some time with her, I come to find out that she runs some businesses, she builds funnels, websites, she understands marketing, right? Her learning curve is different. And then I said, okay, you have the traits and the characteristics that I think that can make it with me in terms of how I'm already running. But I was upfront with her and letting her know where on the brokerage side of things and getting the mentee for writing contracts and all this other stuff would be a weak spot, right? Without being there. St. Houston is where she's at. And she's going to be at the build event too. I turn people down because I don't want to, it will look good in my numbers ratio, but if they don't stay around and it's not duplicatable and they're not successful in getting up and running and selling houses, it's not an overall good look, right? And so being strategic about who you let in your inner circle and on your traditional team, and then more so how you place people maybe in your modern team, that matters. I could have a hell of a lot more than 21 personal sponsor people. That's just a fact of the matter. But we still want everybody in the group, right? Like 2,500 agents. I'm trying to go to 5,000. We definitely will get there, but it's being able to run the modern team similar to the traditional team. We're still solving problems. We're turning challenges into positive things for the network, except I'm actually solving bigger problems that hopefully lead to bigger money down the road, or money that can compound itself in a passive way. Keeping the downline on track and plugged into systems, promote calls and events like you do with your group. I attempt to push it out to my leaders and you push it out to your leaders, and so on and so forth, that someone's carrying the flag. And so helping these people set goals, inspire, motivate, teaching the how-tos. Even at Select, we would read a book a month. I still coach heavily to the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And when we did that with our team, it was perfect timing with Gazelle coaching and some other things for our team culture. And as we broke 1,000 closings per year, we're opening expansion offices, we're thinning out our leadership and all that stuff inside of the Google Drive, guys. Hey, Tierny, thank you, by the way. I'm going to go to Grant here now. Next, unless you got any other final words you'd like to deposit value, or you got something that you just feel like we have to get out today, I'll let you go ahead and say your final word here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think just figuring out a way to deposit value into the real estate community. If you're looking to grow your organization, that's where you start, is how can I deposit value and how can I deposit more value? So with my lunch and learns, I was doing them locally or traveling to different places, and flipping that to an on-demand has allowed me to get in front of more people, right? And deposit value. So just figuring out how can you deposit more value? How can you expand into other areas and deposit value, I think has been something that has helped me.
All right. I love it. I appreciate everything that you do. And how did the girls do in their tryouts or whatever yesterday, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, we were at Oklahoma University, OU. They did good. They did well. So thank you for asking.
All right. I love it. If you guys don't know, Walsh, he's the man. Their family's all basketball. Walsh played pro and is just a great guy. And so he He has all daughters, right? I believe. How many daughters you guys got?
Yeah, we have 5.
I got a basketball team, put it that way. And they're all basketball year round. And I love it. I appreciate you, Tierny. Thank you. What's going on in the world today, guys? Top agent experts. Hey, real quick, just wanted to give you a quick overview about what we do and all of the collective traditional teams and then the power teams inside of this, brought to you by Team Sales Mastery, the Power Unit co-founders, Mega Training, All or Nothing, and anyone else that's dropping value in our group. I appreciate you guys showing others how to position their brands, create unique value propositions, and all of those different things. And so I want to say thank you to all of those leaders, and especially Mike Gerbic in this quest of a better way to transact real estate and collaborate, learn, think, and create with our modern teams and our traditional teams. And show you guys how to really earn and charge what you're worth. And just here's a little quick chart of how to justify agents' commission. We're right around 2,500 agents strong in the top agent experts group. So a shout out to every single one of you guys that are sponsoring agents, helping in building this empire, which is the modern team, EXP Realty. So thank you guys. You guys are intertwined together. You guys are in business together. You guys are helping each other build together. This is the you event. The people that you partner with matter. Your network matters. And you also have a story about yourself, but I want to help reframe that story today. And I want you guys to come up with your financial freedom number, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to work towards that by helping other people. It's about me and you, and it's growth time, baby, because I want you guys to have a voice. What's your why? What's your freedom number? Why are you here? Why are you in this room? What do you want from this? I want you guys to think big. Success is not something that you pursue, it's something you attract by what you become. If you want to attract people, become attracting, become interesting. When you're ready to fly, and you can do it, just do it. Just core values, a mission, a vision statement are right here in terms of what we're trying to accomplish with top agent experts, really trying to change the lives that we're all in financial alignment with clients, partners, agents, alike, by changing the real estate industry through teamwork, innovation, and experience. And so I have that stuff in there. So feel free to read through that. Obviously, very important to be able to work with and collaborate and be in financial alignment with very like-minded people. You could be asking yourself, what is top agent experts really? We're your partners, most of us, in your revenue share group. And so this is our micro community inside the overall bigger cloud of EXP, and have that community where we support each other. We help with onboarding and making sure white glove service with onboarding and all that stuff's taken care of, working back with corporate for a great experience. We have a lot of high producer, mega icon agents and teams in our network. And we're training on what it takes to be in the top 1% of selling houses, the top 2%, and also helping with the agent attraction piece through building an empire, collaboration and motivation, inspiration, just building that community, right? With very like-minded people. We're basically going further, faster with more like-minded people. And so that's what top agent experts is. We're your partners. And right here, I broke down, obviously, the offers from EXP, right? If you're with EXP, you obviously know we all join for different reasons. And the 5 pillars of wealth, if you ask me, main ones, and then all of the other ancillary stuff that comes with it. But you could be asking yourself, what we do differently at Top Agent Expert, since you take the main package with EXP, and then we take it out of the box and we've souped it up. We got tons of different training going on, tons of different like team mastery calls for team leaders, people like myself. I'm just hopping back on one with the guy that changed my life, Kirby. You saw him in that other picture. We have the live referral network where we're keeping the business in the house, a financial network, building an empire expansion systems that are obviously been proven to build many of us much bigger than where I'm at with 2,500 agents being ranked top 30 in the world globally. And if you're into expansion and scaling out your traditional business, we can definitely show you how to do that. The Power Unit Group, obviously, what they got going on, the mega builders over there with Cory, what's up, the co-founder stuff, everything they're doing at the Breakfast Club, with Michelle, all of those different things, a private revenue share community to show you how to create some additional income that's passive and going to compound literally month in and month out. And if you don't run teams and have a bunch of support around you, but you're sponsoring agents, and or if you still got those teams, having the white glove service and basically someone to help them get live so it doesn't become a full-time job for you. And what's up to my partners up north? We got the Canadian Conversion Project where we're generating leads up there, helping with ISA services and all that stuff up north, as well as here in the United States with live transfers and different things. And so I love it. And we actually kick off here in about 10 minutes on that call. Our inner circle call with the top people, trying to get them together quarterly. You have the last 90 days go. Where are we going from here as a unit? Because a lot of alphas are in that group. And so it's normally a powerful meeting. Actually, one of our masterminds, the Monday mastermind, came from that meeting where we're basically delivering and showing the mega icons, and they're giving you their secret sauce, the one thing that they do really good to get listings, or how to be a buyer specialist, and how they're an icon agent for 4 years in a row or 5 years. I just hit my 5 years and literally have partners that have hit it every single year. Mindset training, social media training, the mega global team builders, and how we're meeting every 90 days, tied in with Brent's group and also the top team builders in the world. Me being an alpha person with corporate, meeting them weekly, where my rank's at, and being plugged in with corporate and the support and all of those different things. Live and direct, and how being able to listen to live prospecting calls and different things like that, how we're even set that up on Discord and some cool new stuff. And so anyways, jump into it, ask for a guest pass, and then there's another 80 hours or cloud, all of that. And so what I had just recently mentioned was outside of the cloud, on top of it, to really show you the strategies and the tactics that a lot of us are using to be in that top 1%, 2%, and touching on right here a few of the leaders that are helping us do this. I definitely would not be doing what I'm doing and paid on 9,600 closings and $3.4 billion if it wasn't for Mike Gerbic. And so shout out to him and everything he does with Team Mastery. And I know that's about to restart here in a couple weeks. I'm so excited to jump back in there, get refreshed on things. Tierny Jordan, shout out to her, over 500 agents doing it. The same with Blake. And then I'm mentioning people that are actually live week in, week out inside of the group. Matt Smith, shout out to him, went from 200 closings to over 1,000 closings in the Midwest here, walked away from 100 listings with Century 21, moved his team in his basement. Now he's 4 brick and mortars and starting to build his modern team, not just the traditional team, and everything he's done with all or nothing group and mastermind. Blake, phenomenal closings, well over 500 traditional closings, over 500 agents in the modern team closing who knows how many houses. Mark Bitterfield, what up? Shout out to him and everything that he's been able to do with me with coaching and live and direct and selling houses and building his empire. And Chase and Miles, everything he's done with the Power Unit Group and his coaching company and speaking and his real estate team, and everyone loves him. And so I appreciate what he does. And so Amanda, all the social media training and building, helping build up north there in Canada, and Jarrett as well, traditional team building, team leader, and consistently being able to give back. And I also own traditional real estate up there with him and everyone else in the top agent community that are leveling up, and the partners, the leaders, the instructors, the trainers are all top notch, doing it at the highest level. And so, I just highlighted a couple of them that you'll see weekly if you see links or things being posted inside of Top Agent Experts private group and or Team Mastery, and really like something like that is people are still paying thousands of dollars a month for. And since you're in Top Agent Experts and or looking at us and thinking about it, that's available to you and obviously your team leaders for free, live and direct. Definitely, everyone's still hitting me up for that product. Charge $1,000 a month for that for years. That's free. How we're tying that back in to disc, building an empire and everything we've been able to do in the time that I know that my hourly worth is and everything like that, and what I could get. The real numbers tied in to differentiating value that we do to keep building and stuff like that. So I just highlighted a few of them: the agent advancing forward, being able to show that your newer agents or agents that are in their first climb, how to track their numbers, base prospecting, accountability, role playing's in that call, the Canadian partnership project, helping hire and find VAs, ISAs, train them, all of these different things that I'm sure you've had to deal with before. The 2% Monday mastermind, week in and week out, from like the agents that are actually doing it and having access to them, where they're giving you their secret sauce without holding anything back. And I mean, the last a couple calls have been completely bananas. One guy has a traditional team of 50 agents up in Canada. And then Amanda, it's a mega icon team of how they've scaled and got the varsity prospecting team and the B team. As the list goes on, and there's a website directly for that, and you have access to it for free, signing up for webinars. And also, if you have someone on the fence or whatever, you can share it with them too, and get them in. And it's all production based. I hate to leave anyone behind. We're definitely in this shift, and uh, being able to help any way that we can, at least with that call, no problem. And then obviously the social media training, mindset stuff, all or nothing, eliminating that head trash, all of this stuff is going on weekly. And then can't leave Brenda out with the concierge services and everything that she does, and the websites that we've set up to help track the people that you're onboarding, and the pre-onboarding training and launch of it all. It can be overwhelming, or a lot of it's automated. And so making sure that nothing falls through the cracks, and she makes sure you're having or your people are having a great experience. Invite only, inner circle roundtable calls with the leaders off of those numbers, with the top agent expert producers and builders. And obviously our masterminds globally that are going on. It's crazy. And we're just getting back from Cabo, and we're in San Antonio, and is get to these, or get with a person that invited you here, and ask them how you could get there. A new website that I'm rolling out, tied in with what I've been offering and going to be offering with my traditional teams, not just the revenue share group. And so I've added this stuff in here that, is showing you, if you're running with us, the value that you're going to get, even in the modern team network, as a partner or somebody that's running their own business and all that stuff. But if you're also looking at joining the traditional teams, you need leads, you need support, you need help, uh, on the marketing side, the transaction management side, just a culture of a fun traditional team, and looking to operate within that environment. I've laid some of the stuff out that we're offering in the actual areas that are exclusive to where I'm at. And I know my partners will probably interchange some of their value in here, but you're invited to check it out. Jump on my calendar right here, and you see what we're doing differently, all the way from the network to the traditional teams, and breaking it all the way down. And also the live referral map, adding that in here for my partners and stuff like that, so we can keep more of the both sides of the deal in the family. And top agent expert masterminds that we're running local. And I know a lot of my other partners are starting to run them hyper local for the area, tied back into our big group as well. I'm trying, and I'm on a mission to help other people achieve what am achieving. I want to be able to do whatever I want with whomever I want, whenever I want, and breaking free of the old model, and really building a life by design and never trading time for money at all. And if you're taking a look at the value or what we do differently, the people matter and who you work with. And we're in business with the number one, number two, number three, number four, I think number five builder here at EXP. And then I think my sponsors up in 15th, 16th, and then I hover around 30th Spain spot ranked globally. And we have a lot of icon agents. This is a 100% model for them. And I can show you how to make this a 100% model for you, and flex some spreadsheets and run your numbers and show you how much money you would be saving, earning, and making off what you're currently already doing, and or exactly what you need to become an icon agent. And we have the tools and the resources and or the business to show you how to do it with us, so you can start to net more money. But I'll start by joining on Mondays. And so it's 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. The masterminds online with us. I'm not talking about the ones that are hyper local. Get with your leader or whatever and see if they're a top agent expert mastermind. Locals are going on monthly, but I definitely would start there and start to see how we basically closed 9,600 homes. It was actually way more than that. That's just what I was being paid on with uncapped agents. And come learn with us, come critically think with us. When I invite you to start creating with us as well, and see how all of these people are going further and then how they're doing it faster. And then they're doing it with like-minded people, their friends, people that are in the business that they may be wanted to work with before, but couldn't financially make it work. And I ask you, to uh, have an open mind when you're looking at this and going through the process, because I kept saying no for a year and a half and couldn't really understand it. And so one of my principles is having an open mind and looking at everything and understanding how you can become radically open minded is a process to remove ego, looking at things subjectively and all of that stuff. And I challenge you to start to practice a radical open mind and make it a habit. And I tell people all the time, look, decisions don't happen overnight. And I said no for a year and a half. And I feel like I'm a pretty sharp guy. When I pivoted over, as 11th in the nation in units sold. And I, from 2012 to 2017, ranked 9th to 12th in the nation, according to the Wall Street Journal. And I had a great mentor, great person that put me in good positions, let me build sweat equity into his company, all of those different things. And you may be going through that same process, but if you don't make changes and grow, and I'm talking about soon, you'll be obsolete for where the industry is going and all of that stuff. And so I put a few of our principles in here in this book as well. And so feel free, spend some time reading through it, but we're not lowering the bar and we're not lowering our expectations, and we're just doing it. And so if you need to get a hold of me or feel like you would like to speak with me, my calendar is adamlivechat.com, and I'd be more than happy to show you some of the back end numbers that I showed you a few minutes ago and exactly how I'm doing it and all of the principles that's driving this business. Okay. And if you are stuck, hit me up too, or I do a free strategy call with you. If you feel like you don't know where your next deal is coming from, or you're having a little bit of anxiety or fear and uncertainty, adamlivechat.com.
I need to start my mornings off not negative, not putting out fires, dealing with broker operations, agent problems, complaining. I need to take care of me in the morning. Start meditating, start reading, start studying where I want to go, visualize to manifest to where I want to go. And this winter, you guys are going to have to make a commitment. Are you the voice? I remember when people told me in Kansas, you're in Kansas, you can't do this. Yeah, you guys built this in Kansas, but you guys are from Kansas. But even when I was in Wichita, people were like, you're from poverty. You came from the hood. Who do you think you are to come in this brokerage and do this? Go back to the ISA room. Stay a buyer agent. Be thankful you're a listing agent. Okay, cool. You're a top team lead in a top brokerage now. Wow, you got ownership. I could become complacent with any of that. It's not about rank. It's not about title. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about me becoming the best I can be at serving other people that I feel committed to serving.
Focus has to be on winning. And we got to make changes without a doubt. I've had to make changes in my business. I've had to make a lot of changes over the last year, but we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep thriving and we're going to adjust. And a lot of my people that are adjusting to this new world order or this new economy that we're in, that they're the ones breaking through. They're having their best months. They're hiring, they're growing. And so I'm going to ask you, do you hate losing so much that you are unwilling to change? Or do you hate change so much that you're willing to lose? That's only up to you. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Make it count. Live or adamlivechat.com. Get on my calendar. Let's go. What's going on in the world today, guys? Top agent experts. Hey, real quick, just wanted to give you a quick overview about what we do and all of the collective traditional teams and then the power teams inside of this, brought to you by Team Sales Mastery, the Power Unit co-founders, Mega Training, All or Nothing, and anyone else that's dropping value in our group. I appreciate you guys showing others how to position their brands, create unique value propositions, and all of those different things. And so I want to say thank you to all of those leaders, and especially Mike Gerbic in this quest of a better way to transact real estate and collaborate, learn, think, and create with our modern teams and our traditional teams. And show you guys how to really earn and charge what you're worth. And just here's a little quick chart of how to justify agents' commission. We're right around 2,500 agents strong in the top agent experts group. So a shout out to every single one of you guys that are sponsoring agents, helping in building this empire, which is the modern team, EXP Realty. So thank you guys. You guys are intertwined together. You guys are in business together. You guys are helping each other build together. This is the you event. The people that you partner with matter. Your network matters. And you also have a story about yourself, but I want to help reframe that story today. And I want you guys to come up with your financial freedom number, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to work towards that by helping other people. It's about me and you, and it's growth time, baby, because I want you guys to have a voice. What's your why? What's your freedom number? Why are you here? Why are you in this room? What do you want from this? I want you guys to think big. Success is not something that you pursue, it's something you attract by what you become. If you want to attract people, become attracting, become interesting. When you're ready to fly, and you can do it, just do it. Just core values, a mission, a vision statement are right here in terms of what we're trying to accomplish with top agent experts, really trying to change the lives that we're all in financial alignment with clients, partners, agents, alike, by changing the real estate industry through teamwork, innovation, and experience. And so I have that stuff in there. So feel free to read through that. Obviously, very important to be able to work with and collaborate and be in financial alignment with very like-minded people. You could be asking yourself, what is top agent experts really? We're your partners, most of us, in your revenue share group. And so this is our micro community inside the overall bigger cloud of EXP, and have that community where we support each other. We help with onboarding and making sure white glove service with onboarding and all that stuff's taken care of, working back with corporate for a great experience. We have a lot of high producer mega icon agents and teams in our network. And we're training on what it takes to be in the top 1% of selling houses, the top 2%, and also helping with the agent attraction piece through building an empire, collaboration and motivation, inspiration, just building that community, right? With very like-minded people. We're basically going further, faster with more like-minded people. And so that's what Top Agent Experts is. And we're your partners. And right here, I broke down, obviously, the offers from EXP, right? If you're with EXP, you obviously know we all join for different reasons. And the 5 pillars of wealth, if you ask me, main ones, and then all of the other ancillary stuff that comes with it. But you could be asking yourself, what we do differently at Top Agent Expert, since you take the main package with EXP, and then we take it out of the box and we've souped it up. We got tons of different training going on, tons of different like team mastery calls for team leaders, people like myself. I'm just hopping back on one with the guy that changed my life, Kirby. You saw him in that other picture. We have the live referral network where we're keeping the business in the house, a financial network, building an empire expansion systems that are obviously been proven to build many of us much, much bigger than where I'm at with 2,500 agents, being ranked top 30 in the world globally. And if you're into expansion and scaling out your traditional business, we can definitely show you how to do that. The Power Unit Group, obviously, what they got going on, the mega builders over there with Cory, what's up, the co-founder stuff, everything they're doing at the Breakfast Club, with Michelle, all of those different things, a private revenue share community to show you how to create some additional income that's passive and going to compound literally month in and month out. And if you don't run teams and have a bunch of support around you, but you're sponsoring agents, and or if you still got those teams, having the white glove service and basically someone to help them get live so it doesn't become a full-time job for you. And what's up to my partners up north? We got the Canadian Conversion Project where we're generating leads up there, helping with ISA services and all that stuff up north, as well as here in the United States with live transfers and different things. And so I love it. And we actually kick off here in about 10 minutes on that call. Our inner circle call with the top people, trying to get them together quarterly. You have the last 90 days go. Where are we going from here as a unit? Because a lot of alphas are in that group. And so it's normally a powerful meeting. Actually, one of our masterminds, the Monday mastermind, came from that meeting where we're basically delivering and showing the mega icons, and they're giving you their secret sauce, the one thing that they do really good to get listings, or how to be a buyer specialist, and how they're an icon agent for 4 years in a row or 5 years. I just hit my 5 years and literally have partners have hit it every single year. Mindset training, social media training, the mega global team builders, and how we're meeting every 90 days, tied in with Brent's group and also the top team builders in the world. Me being an alpha person with corporate, meeting them weekly, where my rank's at, and being plugged in with corporate and the support and all of those different things. Live and direct, and how being able to listen to live prospecting calls and different things like that, how we're even set that up on Discord, and some cool new stuff. And so anyways, jump into it, ask for a guest pass, and then there's another 80 hours or cloud, all of that. And so what I had just recently mentioned was outside of the cloud, on top of it, to really show you the strategies and the tactics that a lot of us are using to be in that top 1%, 2%. And touching on right here, a few of the leaders that are helping us do this. I definitely would not be doing what I'm doing and paid on 9,600 closings and $3.4 billion if it wasn't for Mike Gerbic. And so shout out to him and everything he does with Team Mastery. And I know that's about to restart here in a couple weeks. I'm excited to jump back in there, get refreshed on things. Tierny Jordan, shout out to her, over 500 agents doing it. The same with Blake. And then I'm mentioning people that are actually live week in, week out inside of the group. Matt Smith, shout out to him, went from 200 closings to over 1,000 closings in the Midwest here, walked away from 100 listings with Century 21, moved his team in his basement. Now he's 4 brick and mortars and starting to build his modern team, not just the traditional team. And everything he's done with All or Nothing group and mastermind. Blake, phenomenal closings, well over 500 traditional closings, over 500 agents in the modern team closing who knows how many houses. Mark Bitterfield, what up? Shout out to him and everything that he's been able to do with me with coaching and live and direct and selling houses and building his empire. And Chase and Miles, everything he's done with the Power Unit Group and his coaching company and speaking and his real estate team, and everyone loves him. And so I appreciate what he does. And so Amanda, all the social media training and helping build up North there in Canada, and Jarrett as well, traditional team building, team leader, and consistently being able to give back. And I also own traditional real estate up there with him and everyone else in the top agent community that are leveling up, and the partners, the leaders, the instructors, the trainers are all top notch, doing it at the highest level. And so, I just highlighted a couple of them that you'll see weekly if you see links or things being posted inside of Top Agent Experts private group and or Team Mastery, and really like something like that people are still paying thousands of dollars a month for. And since you're in Top Agent Experts and or looking at us and thinking about it, that's available to you and obviously your team leaders for free, live and direct. Definitely, everyone's still hitting me up for that product. Charge $1,000 a month for that for years. That's free. How we're tying that back in to disc, building an empire and everything we've been able to do in the time that I know that my hourly worth is and everything like that, and what I could get. The real numbers tied in to differentiating value that we do to keep building and stuff like that. So I just highlighted a few of them. The agent advancing forward, being able to show that your newer agents or agents that are in their first climb, how to track their numbers, base prospecting, accountability, role playing's in that call, the Canadian Partnership Project, helping hire and find VAs, ISAs, train them, all of these different things that I'm sure you've had to deal with before. The 2% Monday Mastermind, week in and week out, from the agents that are actually doing it and having access to them, where they're giving you their secret sauce without holding anything back. And I mean, the last a couple calls have been completely bananas. One guy has a traditional team of 50 agents up in Canada. And then Amanda, a mega icon team of how they've scaled and got the varsity prospecting team and the B team. As the list goes on, there's a website directly for that, and you have access to it for free, signing up for webinars. And also, if you have someone on the fence or whatever, you can share it with them too, and get them in. And it's all production based. I hate to leave anyone behind. We're definitely in this shift, and being able to help any way that we can, at least with that call, no problem. And then obviously the social media training, mindset stuff, all or nothing, eliminating that head trash. All of this stuff is going on weekly, and then can't leave Brenda out with the concierge services and everything that she does, and the websites that we've set up to help track the people that you're onboarding, and the pre-onboarding training and launch of it all. It can be overwhelming, or a lot of it's automated. And so making sure that nothing falls through the cracks, and she makes sure you're having or your people are having a great experience. Invite only, inner circle roundtable calls with the leaders off of those numbers with the top agent expert producers and builders. And obviously our masterminds globally that are going on. It's crazy. And we're just getting back from what Cabo, and we're in San Antonio, and is get to these, or get with the person that invited you here and ask them how you could get there. A new website that I'm rolling out, tied in with what I've been offering and going to be offering with my traditional teams, not just the revenue share group. And so I've added this stuff in here that, is showing you, if you're running with us, the value that you're going to get, even in the modern team network as a partner, or somebody that's running their own business and all that stuff. But if you're also looking at joining the traditional teams, you need leads, you need support, you need help, uh, on the marketing side, the transaction management side, just a culture of a fun traditional team, and looking to operate within that environment. I've laid some of the stuff out that we're offering in the actual areas that are exclusive to where I'm at. And I know my partners will probably interchange some of their value in here, but you're invited to check it out. Jump on my calendar right here, and you see what we're doing differently, all the way from the network to the traditional teams, and breaking it all the way down. And also the live referral map, adding that in here for my partners and stuff like that, so we can keep more of the both sides of the deal in the family. And top agent expert masterminds that we're running local. And I know a lot of my other partners are starting to run them hyper local for their area, tied back into our big group as well. I'm trying, and I'm on a mission to help other people achieve what am achieving. I want to be able to do whatever I want with whomever I want, whenever I want, and breaking free of the old model, and really building a life by design, and never trading time for money at all. And if you're taking a look at the value or what we do differently, the people matter and who you work with. And we're in business with the number one, number two, number three, number four, I think number five builder here at EXP. And then I think my sponsors up in 15th, 16th, and then I hover around 30th Spain spot ranked globally. And we have a lot of icon agents. This is a 100% model for them. And I can show you how to make this a 100% model for you, and flex some spreadsheets and run your numbers and show you how much money you would be saving, earning, and making off what you're currently already doing, and or exactly what you need to become an icon agent. And we have the tools and the resources, and or the business to show you how to do it with us, so you can start to net more money. But I'll start by joining on Mondays. And so it's 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. The masterminds online with us. I'm not talking about the ones that are hyper local. Get with your leader or whatever and see if they're a top agent expert mastermind. Locals are going on monthly, but I definitely would start there and start to see how we basically closed 9,600 homes. It was actually way more than that. That's just what I was being paid on with uncapped agents. And come learn with us, come critically think with us when I invite you to start creating with us as well, and see how all of these people are going further, and then how they're doing it faster. And then they're doing it with like-minded people, their friends, people that are in the business that they may be wanted to work with before, but couldn't financially make it work. And I ask you, to uh, have an open mind when you're looking at this and going through the process, because I kept saying no for a year and a half and couldn't really understand it. And so one of my principles is having an open mind and looking at everything, and understanding how you can become radically open minded is a process to remove ego, looking at things subjectively and all of that stuff. And I challenge you to start to practice a radical open mind and make it a habit. And I tell people all the time, look, decisions don't happen overnight. And I said no for a year and a half. And I feel like I'm a pretty sharp guy. When I pivoted over, I was 11th in the nation in units sold. And I, from 2012 to 2017, ranked 9th to 12th in the nation, according to the Wall Street Journal. And I had a great mentor, great person that put me in good positions, let me build sweat equity into his company, all of those different things. And you may be going through that same process, but if you don't make changes and grow, and I'm talking about soon, you'll be obsolete for where the industry is going and all of that stuff. And so I put a few of our principles in here in this book as well. And so feel free, spend some time reading through it, but we're not lowering the bar and we're not lowering our expectations, and we're just doing it. And so if you need to get a hold of me or feel like you would like to speak with me, my calendar is adamlivechat.com, and I'd be more than happy to show you some of the back end numbers that I showed you a few minutes ago and exactly how I'm doing it and all of the principles that's driving this business. Okay. And if you are stuck, hit me up too, or I do a free strategy call with you. If you feel like you don't know where your next deal is coming from, or you're having a little bit of anxiety or fear and uncertainty, adamlivechat.com.
I need to start my mornings off not negative, not putting out fires, dealing with broker operations, agent problems, complaining. I need to take care of me in the morning. Start meditating, start reading, start studying where I want to go, visualize to manifest to where I want to go. And this winter, you guys are going to have to make a commitment. Are you the voice? I remember when people told me in Kansas, you're in Kansas, you can't do this. Yeah, you guys built this in Kansas, but you guys are from Kansas. But even when I was in Wichita, people were like, you're from poverty. You came from the hood. Who do you think you are to come in this brokerage and do this? Go back to the ISA room. Stay a buyer agent. Be thankful you're a listing agent. Okay, cool. You're a top team lead in a top brokerage now. Wow, you got ownership. I could become complacent with any of that. It's not about rank. It's not about title. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about me becoming the best I can be at serving other people that I feel committed to serving.
Focus has to be on winning, and we got to make changes. Without a doubt, I've had to make changes in my business. I've had to make a lot of changes over the last year, but we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep thriving, and we're going to adjust. And a lot of my people that are adjusting to this new world order or this new economy that we're in, that they're the ones breaking through. They're having their best months. They're hiring, they're growing. And so I'm going to ask you, do you hate losing so much that you are unwilling to change? Or do you hate change so much that you're willing to lose? That's only up to you. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Make it count. Live or adamlivechat.com. Get on my calendar. Let's go. I'm going to move on to Grant. And so Tammi as well, she's probably hanging out somewhere on here. And Grant was introduced to me officially through Gerbic, but I knew of him over the years. And then when I had finally got Gerbic to just not retire and hang out and drink coffee and run circles around the beach all day long, let's get some work done. Got him, pulled him out of retirement. When Gerbic called me crazy, he told me I should have picked up the equity piece. It was all hype. I don't know what I'm doing. So eventually he's like, man, nobody gets it unless you're working inside of this bubble or whatever. And Grant, I told you his story, you know, how Mike introduced me to him and how he looked at recruiting. But what I appreciate about you, Grant, that I said I haven't seen Tammi at an event yet. I just know what we've been doing, what she's been doing since you guys got your business deal done. And maybe you can fill us in and then segue into Tammi, because she's absolute rock star. You guys are actually working with one of my first frontline recruits, Taylor, and I love an update, good or bad, but we'll call him out. But you had some preconceived judgment of recruiting or your opinion of it, but you showed up to events. I would see you at our masterminds. I'd see you show up. Why show up if you think you can't do it or whatever? But it's been growing for you. And then I'll let you tell a little bit about Tammi. I didn't know you guys knew each other 30 years. I thought you just recently hired Tammi in the last 6, 7, 8 months. So great. And so Grant, we just talked to a couple rock star women. We're about to talk to another one, but how many people do you have in your overall organization? And tell us a little bit about your team. And let's figure out like how it's working for you. Is it the system or luck?
Oh, with me, it's probably blind luck. Who are you kidding?
Exactly.
I'm not as big as any of them. We have 55 in our organization. Most of them are frontline from our own team, but that's changing. It's truly because of Tammi. Like I told you before, you should be talking to her, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I threw you under the bus there, Tammi.
Yeah, Grant, but you're working on not just recruiting people, but you have some business deals here potentially trying to get done that could turn into hundreds of agents, right?
Correct. Yep. So we folded in another team into ours, another connection to Tammy's.
Mm-hmm.
So that was huge. We're going to continue to grow that way. And like most of our growth has actually been through our own team. People joining our team has been the biggest part of our growth.
I don't know what your team splits are, but I would take 50-50 over 3%.
You're correct.
all day long. So you could be onto something there. Now, from getting to these events and understanding the importance of the opportunity of the new alignment or new brokerage, single agent owner, most centric model out of all of them on the planet. And it's, do I hire Tammi because you have to have someone focus on it and you don't want to focus on it, but you understand how big the opportunity is? Or was it timing with Tammi becoming available and have a non-compete and stuff? And so what was it, a mixture of that? How did this deal come about?
Tammi, you want to comment on that? But realistically, she reached out to me and we went and had a drink on a rooftop and we'd known each other for 20 years. I think she was locker mates with one of my best friends back in high school. That's how far we've known each other. And she does have a non-compete right now that ends shortly, I believe. Tammi?
Maybe 156 more days. Who's counting?
I don't know how you know that.
Yeah. Tammi, I was the same way, man. Like when I had my non-compete, I was like so thinking about it and I had all these wonderful thoughts, what I was going to do in my head, but things unfolded differently for me. When my non-compete was up, I had 500 agents. And so I just kept building out, even though I do have a modern team now in Wichita and Toronto, but it organically came about versus the push I was going to have because I was letting my ego get to me. And so, Grant for that long. Wow.
High school was a little bit longer than 20 years ago, but we will just do 10 math. And then Adam, just so you know, you have your email up. You're still sharing your screen. I think, you know what? I had actually a other agent in the marketplace that was recruiting me. I ran anywhere from 500 to 700 agents in my previous brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went to EXP like 6 years ago, I was like, you're nuts. Like you are having a midlife crisis. And then I just watched it, how it went. And this friend of mine, not being Grant, another friend, and he's with EXP. And I finally just said to myself, I'm like, okay, if he can do this, for goodness sake, I can do this. And so Grant, I think what Michelle was saying, the line in which you join is super, super important. And that's a lot of the research that I did because we have in our marketplace, we have a few different lines and my alignment was more just laid back. I'm very relationship wise. I'm not the hype person, those type of things. And so that was like super important.
Right.
When we sat down with Gerbic and you, Adam, I think is what really put Tammi over understanding where we're at and what's happening and the growth that could happen in the market here. You guys made the difference in that.
Right. It goes back to what I told Brent when I was in the hot tub. I thought the system was cheesy, but the second part of it that I didn't tell people that normally is part of the story is I'm not used to having all these smart people around me helping me. It was me and Gerbic, and he's smarter than me. And I'm not used to collaborating in that environment, being an independent, wasn't in a franchise model. So for Tammi to speak with Gerbic and then maybe to hear me as whatever she views me as some young punk kid, but getting big results or whatever, it's respectful, right? It's like a breath of fresh air. Like it's just not me and Grant.
Correct. And I think it's just what you just said, Adam. It is a total alignment game. I think real estate in general, when anybody came into real estate, it was probably as an individual, maybe as a team member, I'm not sure. But everybody has their way of doing things. And I think the alignment in which you have and knowing and hiring to both your strengths and your weaknesses are huge. And it goes back to what everybody was talking about today. I was doing coaching earlier today with a few different clients and agents, and it is what you have to have your mindset in check, that type of thing. So you really got to have your mindset in check, and that really makes a difference. And I know it seems so cliche to say that, but every day you can tell yourself you can or you can't. You're absolutely correct.
I love that.
100%.
And so you're working on the expansion piece there, and you've been given the most important job besides the ISA on the team, if you ask me, because that is the consumer, or we're not the consumer, but the agent first impression of Grant Johnson Team U. And so do you look at it like a business? Do you track your numbers? Like you guys hopefully can see here. Can you guys see my hit list? Okay, so this is a single page, what we call the digital wealth chart. You guys have a blank one in your folder. And so in that folder, I gave you guys like 50 downloads, like spreadsheets, all things attraction. We use a bunch of other stuff. We're not going to have time to get into it all today, but this is how our team tracks the FLQAs or FLQ agents, if they're about to expire, not expire, keeping them active. People that we have on the hit list, if they've been to an event, if they've seen the webinar or whatever, it's just a one pager of how we track everyone. And so are you looking at this like a business and tracking your KPIs? And I know you're big on the relationship side of things and things like that, but do you know your numbers?
She has a whiteboard in her office on wheels with names on it. Don't let her fool you.
Yeah. And you know what, as I get into this more and sit with you, Adam and Gary and some of those things, and having some of, like, again, alignment for leveraging time in our lives, where instead of me trying to reinvent the wheel, having those around us, and all of us have, everybody have, all of us, have people that are good at building a system. I'm in the age demographic, and I'll admit it, I didn't grow up with the internet. So my stuff was in a notebook or a whiteboard. And so being able to learn how to leverage my time to do some of these things that you and Gary have put together, Adam, is great. It helps.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm going through the folder right now. And so if you guys don't have that drive folder, let us know, but it should be inside of the invite on Top Agent Experts Facebook group and the event side of things. And we also put it in the chat here. Now, being able to sit down with someone and understand their net numbers. So Tammi, like when you get in front of someone or anything like that, are you talking about revenue share off of the bat, or are you talking about production? What's the conversation like?
So the initial conversation, of course, is just getting into the relationship, aligning with what their wants and needs are. I just met with a 4-year agent yesterday. And you know what? Part of it is it's just listening and seeing what they're looking for. We have a downturn in our market here also. And now people are like, oh, I've met with 3 or 4 seasoned agents that they're like, my business is off 40%. Okay. And I'm like, tell me about that. Or let's ask some more questions. But then it is going into what are their pain points? How can we support them? What can we give them to help support them and be a value add in their business without hounding them? Because unfortunately, we have a couple people in our marketplace that are very loud with the EXP stuff. So sometimes we get a little bit of a bad gig.
Right.
And that happens, and that's cool. But that way you go into it and you start tracking. You got to track, how many times are you talking with them? How many times are they calling you? How many times are they needing something? And Tierny does. Grant and I are going back and forth. I'm like, the lunch and learns, I have what we call CNCs, contracts and caffeine, PNPs, prospecting and pizza. And so on top of our team doing those activities, we'll make it an open invitation for all agents in our marketplace if they want to pop in They can. If they want to get a free coffee or a slice of cold pizza, great.
So being able to, people buy emotionally, right? And make decisions emotionally and try to justify through logic after the fact. However, as an emotional, passionate person that I am, my C is above the line. If you guys understand disc profiling, my C is at 51. And so I'm also analytical. And this is why I can build systems and creatively work on stuff and get it wired up. But then I can't be the person that sits there and just runs it because I don't care about safety and my I personality takes over and I want to go do something else, right? Or go chit chat.
Grant.
Right. And yeah. And
I
then
have no C.
I know it's a weird personality that I have where my D2 and my C kind of clash sometimes. And it's like, that's where I had to learn the perfectionist stuff to delegate. And as long as they can do it 70% as well as me, I'm going to turn it over. And I had to learn that from Gerbic, and I watched him struggle with it. But the logical side of the business, guys, this is a 1-page EXP Realty cost analysis sheet that we built. And the reason we built this was for our Canada people, because they don't do a lot of production, but their value's high. And then it's like, they don't have caps and different things like that. And so getting to net numbers, true net numbers, just off the production, if they're an icon agent, not an icon agent, what they would need to do to hit an icon agent after you have these people emotionally involved or they're having coffee or they're engaging with you. You might, hopefully you already understand a little bit about their business. There's a whole coaching intake form with about 20 pages on there that give you a lot of questions to ask people that most people don't ask. And it's like to really gauge and understand their business. I'm probably what Gerbic did with Grant before he got involved in his business.
Yes, he did.
Fully understand the scope of it. And it's like, before you go in and get diagnosed at the doctor's office, you're going to fill out a bunch of forms, right? Hey, Grant, do you smoke? When's the last time you drank? Is all this stuff? Is it more than 2 glasses? So the same way with business and coaching and partnerships, and that information is there for you. I'm not going to pull it up, but what I want to focus on, a lot of you guys are setting off with agents that are just single agents or might run small teams. And so this sheet right here, you can plug in their numbers. And I have another video in there that explains it, but this is, production off 26 closings, and it automatically calculates when the TC fee kicks in, when and if they icon, additional transaction fees, and then you have to change if they iconed or not, which is simple, but it adds up all their fees. It adds up how much they'd be paying in the broker fee of the $25 a file. What it doesn't take into account, because we built this for the Toronto area and they pay their E&O insurance up front, it doesn't calculate the $40 per closing with a $500 cap. So if they're closing more than 5 houses, just slap the $500 for the E&O insurance. That usually comes out $40 per transaction. And it will spit net numbers, like true actual cost for this person was $6,000, almost $7,000. And through speaking with this person, they're not running any of our marketing, the worry-free listing program, the home buyer advantage program, love it or leave it guarantee, all of the other stuff that we do and charge transaction fees for. So it offsets the cost with the labor for the transaction coordinator, the listing coordinator, all that stuff to get it off of the P&L. And so then I showed this person how they can zero cost their business. And they're like, that's crazy. That's impossible, right? Because they're on a lower split. They're like on a 90-10 or 95-5 split. And so when you get into the $16,000 cap, it's about net money. And so when you're speaking with people, you can't get caught up in all the emotional stuff that they want to talk about. EXP is good, or you're having a midlife crisis, or the wheels are falling off because somebody, and by the way, Tammi, the way that you differentiate from them people that are just out there the loudest and the wheels are constantly spinning on that bus, because most of the markets that I went into early on already had the low producers, the negative people, the outcast, and all that stuff that people didn't want to be associated with. And it's like how we differentiate is through brand building and storytelling. And I got that from Gerbic. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, because we're going to aesthetically create different logos, different imagery or branding. And it's not just a logo. It stands for something. It has a brand promise. It has a message. We can execute on this, right? And being able to differentiate by letting people know there's another option that isn't loud, that's maybe inbound. That's what I would work on in your area or with your partners, and proudly even differentiate. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys are doing the guaranteed sold, but we had that in our market. Mike ran commercials against the guaranteed sold or we buy it as it being the most gimmicky thing. And once you actually read the fine print, it's like getting kicked in your kneecap and all that stuff. It's on the radio and I'm just busting up laughing. But people love the creativity, but the differentiation of it. And it's like, how do we compete with that? As Mike, we compete by telling people the truth, what we're really doing, what it really is, And so just being able to, and I had Mike on Monday, and that's what I was trying to get out of him with his one thing is creating those ads and simplified content to differentiate yourself. And he said, you just have to sit and say it. Just focus on a couple of paragraphs. Like the radio ads changed his life, our life. And you look at his radio ads, they're not much. And so when you guys are positioning yourself or sitting down with these people, Tammi, hopefully you'll be able to use a sheet like this. Do you get into net numbers with a production with them, or when it gets to them logically making the decision, what's that look like for you?
Basically, yes, I got this sheet from something like this from Gerbeck a long time ago. And so when we get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of the business and the net sheet, we just went through this with one of the affiliate teams, a couple of the affiliate teams in which we folded in. And numbers are very important to them. Grant will tell you, I'm not a huge numbers guy. I usually turn that over to him and Gerbeck because I am let's be authentic. Let's see what you're going to do. We never overpromise. Our culture in which we have is probably, and this may sound weird for some, our culture is just as important as our bottom line, because if we have the right culture and the right alignments with people, things will get taken care of and the profit will be there at some point. And so those are super important things. And when it gets down to some of those numbers, I'll get into it with them, but I am more of being the attraction specialist development for their onboarding, their development, and their coaching. So yeah, Taylor that you sent us, you could probably check in with him. I'm beating him up.
He's doing great.
He's doing
set
great.
15 appointments since he's been here.
Yeah, he's doing great. He's getting back on track, but I had to beat him up a little bit. And he goes, hey, you're being hard on me. I said, that's what the contract said.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The dude is super sharp and very talented, but there is just something, and Taylor, I'm not picking on you. And I know all generations said this, and older generations said we were lazy and bunch of probably recycling of hippies or whatever that Grant was saying about us when we were coming up as kids or whatever. And so for me, I just think when things get tough or you have to, that's really what separates the good from the great, can be consistent with those dollar producing activities. I think with the younger generation, it's just easier. And I'm not just focusing on you, Taylor, because I got a handful of you guys at the same age. I don't want to say you fold up like a cheap tent, but you guys are easily distracted or give up on what got you there in the first place. So you quit doing it because it got hard, or you think there's an easier route where I posted the easy button that all of you guys should be pressing on Monday mornings at Top Agent Experts. But then we got to get to work, like the real work. And Mike had 300 signs in yards with 9 homes pending when I'm on the phone and getting going with him. I thought that's just the way it was. Then when the market started to turn around and we outgrew the market, I said, oh, this is what a balanced market's supposed to look like. And this is how we crushed it. And so, Tammi, I think you have to be hard on people that got potential, because I told Taylor, if she ain't being hard on you and she's not talking shit on you and say, excuse my French, guys, that's when I would be worried. Because it's once they quit caring, once they quit riding you when that contract, what was in that is null and void, you've got one foot out the door and one foot in. And in my opinion, I thought that he matched Grant's personality real well. And he's been in the group for a while. He sold a lot of real estate in his career or whatever for his age. So, and done it by himself a lot. Most times when I think everybody needs to be on a team starting out and then make decisions as you're growing with it, if there's any more opportunity or not. Or for me, I wasn't done learning. And so for him, I thought it was a phenomenal match for him to learn from you and Grant, but more importantly, to get the behaviors of what it takes to be great when things are down. How can you not grow with the market, but outgrow in a down market? And I think that's what you would be able to show him how to do and make sure that he stayed focused on those dollar producing activities. And thank you, by the way, because he said he was getting a listing or had an appointment come up, but he's in Discord. And if you guys wanted prospecting with us inside of Discord, get with me and we'll see if we can let you in, but we're starting to prospect. But him and another guy in Wichita, they've been prospecting together, making live calls. And I haven't heard him this excited. I haven't heard him this fired up. And I haven't heard that much conviction from him in a long time. And so thank you for that. As much as we seem like we're on our own island, guys, in the 2,500 organization, get back with your upline and try to figure out what's going on locally or figure out who else is in the group, because Taylor could have easily just said, oh, this is an Adam issue or whatever, and jumped to another brokerage, right? But he honestly and voluntarily was being vulnerable with things that he was trying to achieve. And that's why one of the slides said, what are you trying to achieve? Get with your upline, get with us. And it's not about a lack of resources in this network. It's if you can't, there's not a problem that we can't solve on all levels, from me, Jeff's group down of the 5,000 people. Jonathan's on here, a rock star person. Jonathan, I might call you at the end. I didn't know you're sitting in here, but it's with him telling me that, then he's not in financial alignment with Grant or whatever, but I had him visit his office. There was some familiarity. And I said, let's see if Tammy's hiring. I don't even know if she's hiring. And I don't even know if she would let people in for how flexible you've been or whatever, if you're not willing to follow a core process. If you can promise me a couple small things, I will make that connection. The first one is, if I make this introduction and there is opportunity, that you're going to give it all you got, can you make that commitment? And he's like, yes. All right. And then the second commitment is just reaffirming commitment number one. Can you make that commitment?
So you know what, Adam? I think that's true for all of us at one time. We all get our own way, right?
Yeah.
We all get in our own way. And if we're not willing to be vulnerable and reach out and say, hey, I need some help with this, or I'm stuck in this. This was like 3 of my coaching sessions today. Every single one of these different agents came in, and all of a sudden they all had the same mantra going on.
Really?
And it was like, I'm blaming it on, the new moon on Saturday.
Sorry, hold on, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead. That was just a video to what is Top Agent Expert. So I'm going to tell you guys about next, but go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think every one of us humans get in our own way. And we have to have the vulnerability to just take a step back and reach out and go, hey, there's been many times where I text Gerbeck or I text somebody else, or I love Michelle and Tierny's stories because they, in my world, align with me a little bit more for being a working mother and stuff like that. And so you got to reach out and get somebody else's opinion and have them sometimes just point you in the right direction. And it's something our feet all hit the ground the same way. So that's the real cool thing about our line, EXP. Everybody has some skin in the game for everybody else.
I love it.
Tammy, I came to you a week ago too and said, I got to go back to work, or about probably a month ago.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't work hard this year. I haven't done much, and it's time to get back to work. And about a month ago, I did it, and everything started growing again. So it is about work.
I appreciate you saying that, Grant, because I had to hop back in, maybe not in the production side of my business, but I had to hop back in my lead generation. I'm knee deep in ISA stuff, lead coordination stuff, coordinating that stuff out. I'm looking at making changes when I've been hands off with it, or it's been just being worked through other people or whatever. And since last August, I've been like a madman. So I can just sustain the 2,500 people. And we did that to leaders like you guys. So thank you. And now we're getting back to growing and revenues going. But it seemed like it took everything I had. And as I tell people, it's like the way that you respond to this ship, just the way you attract, is the same way your agents are going to follow the system or not. And the building an empire system notes are in here. We went through some of the slides and stuff like that. And so I had it pulled up and I just closed it down, but the system is in there. But the way that you also follow your production processes, and or if the leader is responding with strength, certainty, actually paying attention to it, and like there's just a vibration of a certain level of intensity and certainty when you see Grant showing up, and it's, if he's taking it serious, I better take it serious, right? Because if you're not showing up, how would you expect other people to show up? And it's not just a normal day, because COVID changed everything socially, what's acceptable with coming in the office, right or wrong, when we're running sales teams. But I loved it, the fact that you jumped back in, you made that commitment to Tammy. You probably got a few brownie points from her, but more importantly, the overall vibe of the group, as you said, changed. They responded differently.
I think it got too easy for everybody for too many years. I've been in this for over 20 years. So has Tammy. And we've seen this market. And it got too easy for too long. And I got lazy. I'll admit it. I got lazy. And from whether building the team or building that modern team or whatever, I got lazy. And now I'm back at work and it's time to go. And I know Tammy's back at work. I know she's working her butt off. Aren't you, Tammi?
I am. I have all kinds of big plans and we got all kinds of campaigns that are going to be rolling out. So
December 2nd, 2023.
That's right. I'm excited.
Yeah. I love it. Grant, what did jumping back in your business necessarily mean? Did you jump back in the production piece? And I agree with you. Everything did get easier. And then when it got tough, a lot of people didn't respond to the toughness. I'm at my lake house right now and everybody says I only work out here. I don't do what everybody else is doing. I don't treat it like that. And it's like, I had to tell people when I wasn't working, everybody said I was lazy and all I did was make a lot of money. And I'm that real estate guy that don't do shit. Now all I do is work and people are worried about me because I work so much. And it's what I'm doing right now is solving the problems that's going to have me lazy in the future or show up there able where I can coach and train because the world is changing. Everything is changing and navigate through that. But did you have to get back in the production piece, Grant, or more?
I've done both.
Okay. All right.
Back in more actively involved with the team and more actively, I've done some production now too.
Okay.
I really hadn't sold anything for a long time. And now lately I have been, like yesterday, I listed 6 properties. And you just sometimes got to jump back.
Yeah, you're a baller. 6 properties.
You just got to jump back in once in a while. You can't be, we just needed it. The team needed it, need the kickstart. I think you got to lead by example too. I think that's the big difference.
I think when they see us there every day and they see some of us that are early morning people, and like at one of our networking meetings a couple of weeks ago, we just went around and asked people their business hours just to let everybody know in the room that there can be 30, 50 different ways of doing business and it's okay. You don't have to be here at 7 in the morning like some of us are, 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, or stay till 7 o'clock at night or work every weekend. You have your business hours, but the term is consistency. You have to have the consistency and you have to create habits. And creating habits doesn't work overnight. My Planet Fitness membership will tell you.
That is absolutely true. And so when I talk about people that are doing big things in the traditional side of real estate, and then they try to attract, and it's like they get their feelings hurt or they like, oh, it doesn't work or it's not worth my time. It's like you creating new habits and you're going to have to change something every single day that you do towards that. And so Tammi, you were involved in the traditional side of driving even the sales with the Grant Johnson group, right? With sales.
Correct.
And so you made Grant go on those appointments to get the 6 listings yesterday. You got to go on these. You're not rescheduling, Grant. Congratulations, by the way. But how do you compartmentalize maybe when you work on revenue share, or we'll just say attraction for the team or the network, versus creating the next meeting around production or coaching Taylor, but I'm sure you guys got a bunch of other people. And so for them to see those habits in tough times, that's what creates the champions. And I think that I had to see Mike do it. Taylor's got to see you guys do it to have that conviction in it. But how do you deal with the time management piece? Because this is an organizational momentum sheet that's in your guys' folder. So you can track how many personals you have, how many you're getting to build, how many generals you have. Tammi is a general for the Grant Johnson team, and she's a boss in her own right. And I was a general for Mike, and so on and so forth. And so this will help.
And I'm more of a private.
You're a private. I have this sitting next to my desk, and so I see when the next event is, and I know that I'm making invitations when I'm on the phone with people, and then I know my generals are coming and stuff. This isn't my filled out one, but I have something like this. But master and agent attraction, it can consume you, or I don't have time for it. So I'm always interested in the time management piece. I know you run everything through your calendar and you're big on time management. I think one of your mastermind calls on Monday was around time management. How do you run the dollar producing activities on your calendar? What's that look like in the separation?
Well, I'll talk about for attraction. So for attraction, I've been in the attraction game for 23 years. And so what I do is it's all time leveraging. I don't think there's a way to go out on every attraction appointment, meeting, connection, whatever you want to call them. And so what we do is I have group attraction meetings. And so if I'm getting like brand new people or people coming off some of our ads, wise hires, any of those type of things, they get plugged into a conversation with me. We go through there and then they get plugged into one of our bi-weekly. We either run one on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night or on a Saturday morning. They get plugged right into that. And I will tell you guys, it is total selfishness for my time. If I can talk to 5 or 6 people or even 2 people at a time and say the same thing instead of talk to them each an hour and a half throughout the week, I just tell them that is our system. You know what? We'll see you Saturday at 10 a.m. And so the time management on that then gets smaller and smaller because then I know that, and this is more in the new, the seasoned agent, that's a different gig. More of the new, we take on a lot of new people because I just love the coaching game and getting them up and running. But that's how we do time management on that. Otherwise, in my weekly schedule, I have 3 standing appointments every week for all year that I just have to plug names into. I got to go find the names and plug them into the coffee, the happy hour, or the lunch. And that's what I do 3 to 4 times per week, every single week. And if sometimes I don't have a name to plug in there, I'll grab a service partner that we can work on something with a service partner.
I like it. And are these just people from your MLS you're calling down the list, or how did these people get into your top of the funnel or become a target or an avatar for you?
So we basically have our hit list of seasoned agents and then 2 to 3 year agents. And then we also have campaigns set up that are going out on different websites, Wise Hire, our social media platforms, those type of things that people will register and it comes back into just an email platform with the resume, this and that. And then I siphon through those.
Okay. I love that. Another way to get leads is, for example, shout out to Jarrett. I'm involved with helping his photography company. When he's got to generate leads that sell photography, and who they sell photography to is agents. And so we have the VA going and scrubbing that list and verifying their social media, their position within the brokerage, confirming their name and all that stuff. And I was paying Smart Setter. All of Smart Setter stuff is in your guys' folder. All of these different documents. So much more is in that link. So hopefully you guys go through all these different tools. But we started getting the avatar leads for a couple bucks, actual names of agents, their position, team lead, broker, everything. And so it's like, you have to augment the data somehow if you're not just attracting in, but I think that you need to run it like a salesperson, like you tracking your numbers, you have time management. When you're focusing, you know what you're inviting them to. You have high intent with the message and the different funnel steps to hopefully get them to make a decision where they're a traditional agent, we're going to be good in the network. You guys have
exactly like a business. It's no different than running a transactional business. You're just running it in different verbiage and different columns. It's just the attraction piece. And there's a little bit more relationship, of course, that goes into that because you know what, if you see somewhere that we're in graduation season right now, right? So everybody that I see that is on one of our hit lists or in our marketplace, that their kid's graduating or something's happening, you know what? They get a handwritten card. They get something that's going out to them. Great parent win. Great job on little Jimmy graduating and going to U of M or whatever it is. So it's not.
Now you got a lot more time to sell some more houses, right? Let's go sell some more houses. Empty nest.
Right? What? Think about those things. When you get a handwritten note or a video text or something like that, it's just way more psychologically impactful than a text message.
Right.
Or an email. Or I don't talk about EXP right away. I have a group of agents who are like, hey, we want you to come to our happy hour. We want you to come to our lunch and this and that. And I intentionally go there and do not speak about EXP because I know darn they want to speak about it. Because a year and a half ago, Michelle said, whatever, like they all thought I was having a midlife crisis because I left a brokerage after 20 years.
Yeah. And it's, I love that. And it's answer and ask, acknowledge and ask. And sometimes the first person that speak loses. And so I'm that same exact way with a Smart Setter when we would be getting on these discovery calls when strategy calls, they also know that they're going to look at an opportunity or the brokerage, and I'll never bring it up. And they're like, I thought we were going to work on this today. I was like, I thought we were working on selling houses.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then I'm like, well, would you like to know about it? What have you understood or studied about it? So help me understand what you know about it. And then I'm like, well, that's a myth or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then it's organic. But when you're talking about, I was on a webinar the other day, and in 2023, we got 1.6 million agents right now, and they're being thinned out. However, the amount of sales that are predicted from NAR this year will look like what it looked like with 1 million agents back in 2012, the same sales in that year, right? So there's a lot of things that you're going to have to do, like writing notes to your clients, writing notes to people you want to get in business with, and doing things that others are not doing so you can show up a clear winner as other people are having to make the decision to get out of business. This is my second shift, my second downturn. I got into this last time. This is my 13th year or something like that. How long have you been in business, Tammi? And how much does, not just the business aspect play into it, but I think with attraction, and I'm going to let you guys off the hook. I want to ask Jonathan a few questions here. I know that we're probably going to run a little bit late, guys. However, 3:30 Central Standard Time, Bill Pipes, 30 minutes straight fire production team. Bill Price coaches Jeff Williams' team, closing 600-700 houses out of Tucson, Arizona. My sponsor with 5,000 agents. Go back in the group and get that link and get on there at 3:30. It's all production. You're not going to want to miss that today. Straight fire. But when we talk about, Tammi, the onboarding stuff inbound attraction piece, it's not just, oh, we can sell some houses. I know some people that sell houses, but they're horrible leaders, horrible like team lead managers or operators. But so how much does finance play into the picture? Lifestyle, the type of glow that you have when you're growing and still having that balanced life that is respectful, maybe as a single mom or a mother with children or whatever. If someone's looking at some, or, hey, like that person has lost a lot of weight, they're healthy. What are they doing over there? Doing the 75 hard challenge. What the hell? I don't quit drinking. Spiritually, just the vibe could change. And I think all of that, just life in general, it's like, we're not just winning at selling houses or having 2,500 agents or closing 10,000 houses. We're winning at life, and it's a constant uphill battle. And doesn't all of that play into account with inbound?
It absolutely does. And you know what? Each individual, like you have 2,500 people and this and that. You can't keep track of all of that, but each individual that's walking on this earth, I always say, and I did it today because today was like some tough coaching, and everybody was coming up with excuses, and it's forward and this is coming in. And we just walked it backwards. And I always tell people, if you think you can or you can't, you are absolutely right. Whatever you tell yourself, that is absolutely what's going to happen. And so when we're talking inbound with attraction, it is totally relationship. There's a few people, Grant and I, no, they will never be on our team because they are not a fit for our culture. They are not a fit for our business model. And that's okay. I say that's okay. They get to. You'll hear me say that a lot. You get to. Whatever that get to is, you get to. I think the inbound is always asking a lot of questions, just like we do with our clients, seeing where they're at, find out what they're asking and praying for before you start telling them what the value is. We're not used car salespeople. I don't believe in feature dumping. I usually, even the one I met yesterday, 4 years into it, I just asked her about her. I found out about her dog. I found out about a car. I found out about whatever. And she finally said to me, "Are we going to talk anything about real estate?" I'm like, "Sure." I just wanted to know if you were going to be a fit for our organization. And I'm very authentic like that, because if you're not, I don't want to waste anybody's time.
And that's what it is. Is there an alignment off the core values? And are you guys on the same mission? And do you have an alignment in the vision? And that makes it a hell of a lot easier. And when people say who you work with matters, that is what they mean. Does the vision and what you're trying to achieve align with what I'm trying to do? So we're basically dancing, and not you going to play basketball and I'm at a dance recital, right? Like, we got to dance beautifully together. And so what other, maybe Grant, you want to bring us home? Tammi, thank you, by the way, of sharing, that, but when you think about, you've probably done this position before, Grant. I know you trying to get another ISA up and going, and even trying to find somebody like Tammi. It's like Mike finding me back in the days. It's like, where are all the Tammys at? They're just not falling off a tree, right? And so,
Nope, they're not.
and so how many times have you ran this model where you have a full-time coach and trainer like that? This is amazing. Have you operated this model before or not had the luxury of Tammi?
I've never had this luxury before.
Okay.
In 20 some years, I've never had this. And it's a game changer having her around. Don't let it go to your head though, Tammi.
Yeah, she brings to the table everything that you don't like doing, right? It's like you more build and you more analytical.
I'm more vision analytical. I'm not going to go out there and do a bunch of attraction calls and sit down with a bunch of people. I'm more blunt. That's my biggest issue. I'll just say the way it is.
People think I'm blunt. He's really blunt.
Yeah, I'm really blunt.
Well, you need that buffer there with the woman's voice. And so I appreciate you guys. We're here at the top of the hour, unless you guys got any other final parting shots that you think the group should know about.
No, I think everybody, you know what? Just use the people that you have around you to make an impactful difference. And don't be afraid or feel weird or whatever it is about picking up the phone and texting somebody and saying, hey, I need help. I've done it to Brent Gove.
Right.
And I said, hey, what do you think about this? I was looking at your sheet. So don't be afraid to do that and just be authentic and you will just grow.
You will. Yeah, show up to events and plug in. And that's why I said, take advantage of the unstuck call, guys. When I was on that slide, adamlivechat.com. And I'd be more than happy to help you. Tammi sounds like she's willing to help you. Every single person is willing to help you. Even the people that you cross-pollinate with that you might not be in financial alignment with, as long as you're respecting their time, they'd be willing to help you. I think Blake is even trying to hop maybe on this call. And it might have been off on his time zones, but it's if you show up and you ask good questions, it's going to proportionally show up down the road. This is Daniel Ramirez right here. He was 23 years old working on Tierny's team as a prospector, just getting going when we got the business deal done. And ever since then, he's went off and built a traditional team, but he's also built a traditional network with over 200 agents, 300 agents in it. Actually, between US and Canada, I think what, 27 years old right now, but that's phenomenal. Just showing up to these events, asking good questions and bringing the value, creating that leverage, reinvesting back into his business with lead generation, some type of technology value stack, and then leveraging what's going on inside of Top Agent Experts. But getting these people in the cloud is important. Where you can really differentiate on is the ISA piece and bringing value with the conversion piece. And you guys have heard me talk a lot about this, like not all live transfers, not all appointments are created equal, right? And so that's why you could go to cold directories and buy data for 10 cents, 5 cents, 2 cents versus we'll just say like a Zillow Premier Lead could be a couple $100 up to 500, depending on zip code, and really understanding the value that you can bring like we do to the network through Op City, Rise coaching, similar to what we would be doing for our traditional team, but without carrying the cost. And it's really to help with the survival that we are in right now. Income was going up. Home sales are record breaking. Agents getting back into this industry was breaking records before 2008, 2007, the last downturn. But the deals are thinning out. And I just showed you guys that on the last slide where I talked about the same deals representing 1 million agents, like it was 2012. And there's 600,000 more agents that I think that will have to level up and commit, and that's the day their life changes, or they're going to have to get out of the hobby and go find a real job, right? And so we're just in this survival mode right here, and I think that we obviously know what it's going to look like over the next couple of years, and it's going to take hard work, consistency, showing up in our business, and doing things differently, like Grant said, than we had done before, to get our response back from our people that we need, because the way they see you work and operate or recruit is the exact same way that they're going to be able to do it. And so right now we're just in this slide right here and basically slugging it out. And it's the lowest per agent income that is, it's probably been around in, 10 years, maybe more than that, 15 years. However, we're going to get and hit rock bottom, and then we're going to shoot back up just like I've been through. These guys said that they had been through, and so on and so forth. But Jonathan, since you're on here, man, I know we should be wrapping it up here, but I want you to unmute your mic if you're still hanging around here. And I know that I tried to get a deal done with you. You and I have known of each other, and talked over the years, and I respect what you guys have built over there. And it's amazing what you guys have built. You ended up going with another outstanding person. That's the Jeff sponsor tied back in to our group. And I think he runs, it's Clayton Gibbs, by the way, guys, really sharp guy out of Virginia, just a powerhouse guy. And I forget the event he runs or a group that he runs. You're also
Proximity Partners.
Yeah. What is it called again?
Proximity Partners.
Proximity Partners. It's great. And he's always bringing value over there. I want to get him on a Monday call, but you guys, your big operation over here, man. How things been with you? Maybe just bring me up to speed. I just want to bring you on and get an update or tell people your guys' story. You guys sell a massive amount of houses, and why EXP for you guys?
Yeah. So first off, I just want to thank you. Yeah, I just want to jump in where I can and to your group and to everybody's group and just give value. I think that's one of the beautiful things about EXP and just the people in here. So I respect you at a high level. Just wanted to really give back to your group and what you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Ranking it. But yeah, moving over. Yeah, one of the biggest reasons is scale. As an independent broker, I have a
Now, weren't you guys already scaling? How many houses were you selling?
Yeah, just last year we sold 2,600 homes, a little over 2,600 homes, and and that's a group of like about 42 people. My per agent productivity is through the roof, but at the same time, I'm stuck in a market just north of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, where it's hard to scale. It's hard to scale outside of it unless you want to start popping up. So I was an independent broker. It's like hard to pop up independent brokers all over the place, as some of you guys might know. And so yeah, to me it was just building that modern team. You really coined that phrase of building a modern team, and it really hit me where it's that's got to happen. And we're just too knowledgeable to just keep it all in house. That's what was happening. And I just felt like we were just keeping too much internally and needed to get it out to the world. So we're still working on that, still mastering that. But at the end of the day, that's why I want to just give back to everybody.
Yeah. So when you talk about the independent brokerage stuff, that's interesting because people think that's the pinnacle. Like, I work at these franchises, and that's what I tell people. Like, I was independent my whole life because of what Gerbic already blazed the trail and what I just linked my arms with. But, I even had someone here recently went from a small amount of closings to we're talking hundreds of houses. And there's some decisions made at corporate, and just how information is released out, it could be a little bit better or updates, right? But that's part of what corporate's getting better at. And this person was like, man, I think I'll just explore my options or go to being an independent. And it's, you have no idea what it's like to be an independent. And he's, I'm only going to have this cost or whatever. I'm like, no, there's a bunch of indirect costs that you're not even taking into account. And you might as well just cap your growth and just say, I'm happy being right here where I'm at, and sustain and maintain that and get expansion and growth just out of your mind. Because we were opening offices in Kansas City, brick and mortar, finding the broker, agents to hire, tying them back to our call center. In Wichita, I had to stay in that apartment 1-2 weeks out of the year, developing, coaching, then go to the other little spider web office over in Missouri and just covering that region of that radius versus 7 homes or 7 different countries, paying for closings right now. And you guys are already operating at the highest level, 2,600 closings with a small elite group of people, by the way. What did you say, 40?
Yeah, a little over 40.
That is just insane to me. And so was it to bring more opportunity and value to your agents and help with creating lifetime partnerships within them as well? Or what would
So a little bit of both. Yeah, from an agent per agent standpoint, yeah, you always want to level up your people under you. Always. That's just the definition of a leader, is just making it easy for them, hitting that easy button. Like I heard.
But isn't it just in splits though? Give me higher splits.
No, because so here's the thing. Like I got guys that are flipping houses. I've got guys buying investment properties right now, agents on my team. And it's like, all right, cool. Like when you start thinking about, we call it just, we're creating just their legacies. And at the end of the day, it's cool. Like you can keep selling houses, but it hit me in my team personally, where I had a buyer's agent. She was selling 40, 50 homes a year religiously, came over from another broker, came over to us, and she had a brain aneurysm. And we realized like she was about to like show 3-4 houses that weekend. We had to reschedule all of her appointments. And it's like, all right, cool. Her family, like we helped them out, obviously, and made sure they were all taken care of. But at the end of the day, like she was done in real estate. Like she couldn't drive. She had to relearn how to talk, walk, all of that. And it's like what agents don't realize a lot of times is they're just selling houses. They're just doing that. They have no stock. They don't have any retirement plan. They don't have any sort of plan. They're living paycheck to paycheck, just selling houses. And so you're selling a lot of houses. You're not even buying them. So forget even investing in real estate, like this product that you guys sell. They just didn't think of legacy and just think of everything. And when they saw like one of my agents, that happened to them, it really hit them. Like, yeah, you're not going to be in sales your whole life. Like, you got to think through everything. You have to build a legacy for it.
Right. It goes back to this piece right here that I was on it in terms of if like you sponsored 6 agents, that's capping agents, right? Now, over the career, we'll just say this is a 5-year goal right here. This is a 5-year goal that I sponsor 6 of my friends or an associate or somebody asked me about EXP. I follow building an empire system. I edify my upline. I get them to get on a call with them. I get them to watch a video. I get them to an event. I get them to make a decision and just plug them into Proximity is Power, the Top Agent Expert Group, the Cloud with EXP, just 6 of them, show them how to actually follow that same system. And then have those 6 people, they all can at least find one person, right? And that would equal another 6. And so if they're all capping agents, that's $3,000 residual passive income, real money that you're not trading time for money. And it would have helped that mother or the person in this hardship that you're explaining. And so it's like getting them not just to think of responsibility in your life and always been told to make residual passive income. We got to do what? Buy rentals, flip houses. And that's what you're saying. We help them get into that because we're on the wholesaling, flipping, rehab deal, the investment piece of your guys' business that you have. That's been the only alternative other than, hey, can I give you a higher split? But you still want to bring a lot of value, but you can't give the farm away in splits either. And then they think that's the next step, which is I need to go start an independent brokerage. I need to become the next Jonathan or XYZ Adam or Gerbic or Grant Johnson, Tierny or whoever. When that isn't the case, when there's other opportunities where we could be financially aligned through the revenue and the sales of other people. And so I only sponsored those 2,800 people, 21 active to build out to 2,500 agents that I was paid on 9,600 closings on. And so I'm paid a referral fee off of helping these people in the network, hopefully sell houses, work on any of the issues that they have or opportunities in their business. And so if you change some of your language and change the mission, because that probably fires you up, that's a good story for you to tell, for her to tell as well. And that isn't a lot of people that she could go and attract. She could, over 5 years, 3 years, build this up. I know we've been talking building numbers, building fast, but if you just look at it as your career of planting your roots here at EXP and changing some of your language, it's referral money, not revenue share. When you're sitting down and talking with somebody, it's a business plan. It should be serious, not just a lunch and learn. And it's a strategy session. Like, it's strategic. Jonathan is a very smart, sharp guy. Is hopefully people that he calls or reaches out to are willing and able and excited to take that call because they understand the value attached to it through the social proof of the results that they've been getting with their business plan. And they can talk about that, not just the compensation in it and trying to race to be the cheapest, but value unarticulated is always going to be value unappreciated. And being able to articulate that value and show them that you can help them build some residual passive income just in case somebody runs a red light and T-bones your car, just in case somebody gets cancer, just in case something bad happens that he had mentioned, right? And that's not even bringing up the coaching and training piece to it. But if you're not a coach and you're not a trainer, I'm not a coach and a trainer. I tell people that all the time. I have to do what's necessary to drive revenue in my company as a team lead agent owner, right? And so that's mentorship. And you can be a mentor. You're a mentor probably to the kids in basketball, softball, gymnastics, whatever. It could be a mentor in your church, your community. And so becoming that mentor just to help pull people up to start to build some generational wealth, if that's what it turns in for you. But it also could cover you during financial hardship or pay your mortgage payment or to pay your car payment. You guys run a big business here. And I know that we went a little long here, and maybe you can wrap us up, guys. And a lot of this stuff is inside of the documents, inside of that drive that you can download. But how do you justify shutting your business down? I seen you when I got to meet, and I met your wife, I believe, at the last event. And so like, why shut down your business, and why do you get to these masterminds?
Oh, why? So that's what I believe in. Proximity is power. So I'm not sitting here because of my college degree or anything like that. I never went to college. It's just the school of the hard knocks. You hustle your butt off and you work your butt off. But at the same time, you get into rooms that people have done it already. And Tony Robbins always said that is just get in the rooms where you want to be in the future and talk to the people that have done it before you. And it just puts the easy button on everything, and you're there. So I say, everybody asks me, like, what's your superpower? Like, how are you able to do that? I said, my only superpower I've ever had is being able to just get in a room that I don't belong in, and then just asking good questions. Just don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask a good question, or take that person out for a drink or for food or whatever. So just get in the room.
Yeah, get in the room with other sharp people. That's what Gerbic was able to do for me, when it really shortcut my career to exploding, where I've been able to do some phenomenal things because Gerbic enabled that door to be open and made that investment. And so it sucks shutting down your business every 90 days. But when like Tammi or somebody, maybe Grant, was talking about rejuvenating ourselves, we all get our teeth kicked in. We all have victories. We all have defeats, and we all get insecure and wore down and tired and all that stuff. And it's just a way for all of us to get together every 90 days and not round, but we're showing what's working, pivots we've had to make in our business, new tech that we've had to implement, or what isn't working anymore, right? And then we're able to feed off of that energy and then see that growth, big or small, and go back and do it again, right? And so we got to be able to refill our cup to be able to pour into others. And so it's exciting to see people shutting down their business, not out of starving or frustration or whatever. It's because they know that's where the other smart people are going to be that are doing what they're trying to achieve. And I've never seen any of the big builders that are not at the events. And so if you want to grow your revenue share, you're going to have to change something you do daily, but you're going to have to commit to coming to build. Go get your ticket, start inviting people. You heard Michelle say we only invited her 3 days before EXPCon a couple of years ago, and then a month before Puerto Vallarta. And Brenda, if you guys are onboarding people, I want to shout out Brenda and what Gary are doing. We have people to help with the onboarding and to help work back with white glove service with EXP's concierge team, so you can have a good experience with them. And we have a website, and all that stuff is in the system notes, and it's laid out in there as well. Or I'll put our resource guide in there, the full-blown Top Agent Experts resource guide. All that stuff will be in there. And what you want to do is help somebody else create a story. And there's a whole system and story building inside of story building system that I have. It's not in there, but this company is called Pipe Decks. And I used to buy their stuff for the team culture and the gamify stuff. And so it's a Pipe Decks, and go buy their story building system in terms of how to gamify this with your people and how to create your story, right? Like Jonathan, people asking him, what's his one superpower? He's got big results, but ego free. They do it a little more quieter, right? And so people are probably asking him, like, what's your one thing? What's your story? And he's crafting that right now because I didn't have to do that before. So it's like the results speak for themselves, and we try not to speak about them because we're modest and humble and all this stuff, right? But eventually you're going to have to own your story, Jonathan, and build it, and then help other people build their own story as well, right? To create their financial number. And we didn't get into too much of that today, but all of those spreadsheets are in there. And once you guys start to see some results, it becomes addicting, right? This is me speaking in Cabo. This is, when was this? About, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. So I was blessed to be able to speak there, but I also called myself out. Part of that speech, if you've been around me, guys, I quit drinking for 17 months, however long it's been. And I had to wage war on myself so I could show up the best authentic self that is needed for what's going on right now. Because if I'm bullshitting myself, And Tony Robbins said, you got to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others. And if I can't expect me to lead myself through this obstacle that we're going through and also do it unhealthy, how can I expect anything great of my partners? I can't. And so I couldn't blame it on external things. I had to look inward and really master myself so nobody else can master me. A spreadsheet, sales being down 40%, the market shift, things not going my way, whatever it may be. I don't care because I've mastered the Zen inside of me. And I went to war with myself and I'm in competition with myself. I don't care what anyone else's numbers do or what anyone else is doing. I just made it more personal about me. And obviously I'm highly competitive and I compete in the biggest arenas, but that's part of growing up. And it's not about any of that. It's about showing up the best authentic version of myself to be able to help you guys. And so hopefully you guys appreciated the 2 hours here. Jonathan, you got any other parting shots? I know you wasn't planning on speaking. You just hopping on here and have somebody at your caliber on here and not bring you in. And I can't even, I really couldn't even see who was here. I just seen you at the end, but what else do you have for us? Maybe wrap us up here, man, and bring us home.
Yeah, no, just a change. Just always change, always evolve, get to the events, get on these calls that Adam's putting on, just plug in. If you don't plug in, you're never going to get anything out of anything. Just
plug in, guys. The system notes are uploaded in there and it's simple. And when I said that I was judging Brent's system and I said it was cheesy, I made Brent a promise. Said, I will commit to your system for the next cycle, to the next mastermind for 90 days. If it don't work, Brent, I'm going back and I'm doing what I was doing that got me 90 agents in 90 days. Ever since then, if you guys have seen my other spreadsheet, which is in there, I predicted my revenue share and my growth every single year except this year, this last year. And I was way off. And so for 4 years, I'm going to go into my 5th year, guys. I predicted revenue share. My growth rate was anywhere between 5 to 7%, month in and month out. And that is not yearly. We're talking compounding every single month because I followed the Building an Empire system and became a personal inviter, had them watch the webinar before getting them to speak to my upline. And yeah, the webinar might be this and that, but look, it takes a 2-hour conversation and shrinks it down to the 34 minutes. And it allows and enables us to now get all the basics out of the way. And it's not confusing because you now just understood it in bite-sized digestible pieces in 34 minutes. Now we can have an advanced conversation of what it's going to look like for you and I to really sell houses together and to build an empire, not cover splits, not this and that. And so it enables a much larger conversation and then being able to make these events and get them to the events with the nurturing and the relationship building, because big decisions happen at big events, guys. And that's it. Get to the events and just do it. Get your ticket, get your room. I'll see you guys at Build 23 here in about a month. Jonathan, I'll see you. I appreciate you guys and everybody that contributed. If you need the drive link folder, let me know, but it's loaded up, ready to go. Let me know if you guys got questions. AdamLiveChat.com. Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you to Tierny, Michelle, Grant, everybody else that contributed. Appreciate you guys.